SFL Nation, what up, though? It's your man Eddie Gaines in the building tonight, hosting the third round of the Simulation Football League Season 18 draft. Joining me tonight, we have the co-producer of the Minor League Fights and Insights and free safety of the Tulsa Desperados, Daniel Wright. Daniel, we're glad to have you here tonight, and thanks for coming. How you doing?
No problem. It's great. I'm actually excited to see what happens with the secondary, known as a free safety as myself. A lot of secondary should go this round. That's what I'm hoping for.
That's what's up. That's what's up. Next up in the building, we got SFL broadcaster and defensive tackle of the Vancouver Legion, Gerald Big Man Giudicetti. Gerald, thanks for being here, man. How's it going?
Good. Thanks for having me. I'd like to wish all the SFL fans out there and all the players a happy new year, and I can't wait to get this started.
What's up, indeed. And finally, we have the director of game day operations for the SFL. He also plays wide receiver and co-owner of the Fort Worth Pro. Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, I present to you Stephen Hackett.
Stephen, thank you, Eddie.
With all those titles now just named off, I'm surprised he even got the time to be here tonight. We're fortunate to have you in our presence tonight, man. How's it going?
Dude, I'm loving it. This is one of my favorite times of the year, the draft, and seeing where all the prospects go and everybody getting to start their careers. This is a great night. I love being a part of the draft panel. It's one of the most fun experiences for me all season long. So I'm ready to get going here.
Absolutely, I cannot agree more. You know, the season is upon us, and things about to happen. The roster's going to be locking pretty soon. Playbooks are due, I believe, in a week from now, so it's about to get popping. But before we do so, we got to wrap up this third round of the draft, and we got a lot of guys on the board with great value and great personalities. Some of them I didn't think would still be here right now. Who do you guys think? And I'll start with you, Daniel, that are still on the board that you surprised are still here.
So on the board right now, I'm actually super surprised that Derek Meerkat is still on the board himself. He helps with the minor leagues fight and insights. He actually brings in the interviews for us. So he'll help wherever he can. Frank Bernstein with his Excels and his spreadsheet is another good pickup. And Isabella Blackwell last season had one of the best strong safety roles. She was one of the best, as he didn't get picked. And she continued to do this. I'm super surprised that C especially hasn't been picked yet.
What about you, Gerald?
My biggest thing is Mike Savage from Tacoma. He's the number one rated wide receiver coming in, and him still being on the board is absolutely mind-blowing. Another one was Derek Meerkat. Definitely one of the ones that I'm surprised on, but he'll make a great fit on a team.
And finally, Stephen, you've interviewed a lot of these SFL players as Fort Worth has team needs, and I'm sure you took in part of that interview process. Why do you think some of these high-quality, high-value guys are still on the board?
Again, it comes down to, at the end of the day, it comes down to how teams are going to build their rosters, what kind of available openings they do have, right? So there's still basically a round and a half worth of picks here to be had tonight. So a lot of names are going to get called here in the final day of the draft. And so it's the anticipation, having to wait for 2 days, watching all your friends and your peers go is definitely tough. But a lot of these players have shown great, great spirit in the chat as the draft has gone on. So, I definitely want to give a shout out, Yambambe Adams, Juan Mississippi, Lorraine Darby, Dusty Rourke, definitely all players that I think should have their name called. Ernest McCray, Travis Arthur, Forrest Dalton, a bunch of names out there that will be solid. Even if they have to go back to the minor leagues next season, those will be the leaders for those teams as the new wave of SFLN players come in to take the spots of all their peers that got drafted. And so, look to some of these names to be the next wave. Douglas Brown, the four horsemen, the four running backs in the SFLM, they didn't get drafted their first season. They had to pay their dues. And sometimes, the door opens to another kind of opportunity, which could be a leader on some of these SFLM teams. And so I want to say, if you don't get drafted, don't take it to heart. It's not always personal. Sometimes it comes down to position availability. It has nothing to do with your player value or your character as a person. It's just more so that there's not always enough roster spots, and teams have to do the best that they can to operate within the rule structure of the league.
Absolutely. And waiting right now to make that 49th pick, first of this third round is Jacksonville. And one thing I can attest to, I remember when Douglas was waiting to get picked up, and he ended up becoming, first round or first pick in the first round with Tulsa. And a lot of people were surprised when he didn't go, but he did not, get discouraged. He stayed the course, stayed motivated, created a Sempod along with a couple of other gentlemen and who are in the league, got drafted to the pros, put his name out there further, and he ended up getting drafted first overall. So you just have to sometimes find creative ways to get more attention to yourself to make that happen. And as Jacksonville, as we speak, sure enough, the pick is in, gentlemen. Cam, where's Jacksonville going with this pick?
Thank you, Eddie, and Happy New Year. With the 49th pick of the SFL Season 18 rookie draft, the Jacksonville Kings select Forrest Dalton at defensive tackle. 50th pick, that's Denver. You're on the clock.
Wow. So, Forrest Dalton off the board, defensive tackle for Jacksonville. Daniel, what can you tell us about this guy?
So this was actually one of the picks that I thought might go to Jacksonville. I thought they were going to switch him off from the linebacker to defensive tackle as one of their needs. He's a great guy. He gets to the ball quickly. He tackles ferociously. And he's a good guy to have around in the locker room. He's good. He's one of the people that I expected to go in this slot specifically because he's so good at finding the ball.
And Zero, Jacksonville clearly needed a defensive tackle to help replace Hunter Norwood. I didn't think they would find one on the board here in the third round, but yet here he is. He fell to him. What can you tell us about his stats this past season?
75 tackles. He had 9 tackles for loss in the linebacker position, 5 pass deflections, and a forced fumble. So I think he's going to definitely be a force on the front line for Jacksonville.
Jacksonville now has a front four again. They have 2 defensive tackles, 2 defensive ends signed to the roster. Steven, what do you think about this pickup for Jacksonville?
I think Forrest Dalton actually makes a lot of sense at defensive tackle. Good value moving from the linebacker position, but also probably the right body size, 6'1", 260. He can put that extra weight on during the offseason, maybe get that up to about 280 and really give him that fighter's chance there in the middle. I love the pick for Jacksonville. Great work by Frank Gooden and GM Mike All here on this one.
Yeah, I have a funny feeling he's going to gain about 20 pounds come before when that contract gets signed. So Jacksonville fills the void at defensive tackle. They now have front four again for us to all fear about. Hopefully you don't have them on your schedule because that offensive line better be ready for them. But next up on the clock, number 50 overall, second pick in this draft is Denver. Denver, trying to get back to their championship ways, has some holes to fill. Jared, what do you think they go with this pick? What position do you think they're looking at?
I would think that I would love to see them with their wide receiver core. Then a long shot for picking up Mike Savage. I think that would be an unbelievable pick for them to go with Riley Quintero, Bryce Battle, and Logan Keel to give more weapons for Eric Price. Strong safety. I think Dante Grimm would be a nice fit here as well.
Yeah, Daniel, I remember there was a post that went out late last night from Denver looking for some pieces, but they're trying to sign them at a smaller value than most I've maybe considered. So I'm not sure if Mike Savage would be a fit there at his contract value unless he's willing to take a pay cut. What say you?
Yeah, I did see the player open as well. They're looking for an outside linebacker 2 and a wide receiver 4. So I think getting Jared Patridge, he's not that high on the salary cap. He could easily convert to a copper if needed. If they talk to him, they might be able to squeeze in him into the contract. I think that's where they go if they actually have a communication with him.
Steven, I know they were also looking at offensive line as well, someone to bring in to groom along. They're looking for people who are looking to be committed to their organization for a long period of time. They don't want to just fill a stopgap. What do you think they're looking at right now with this pick?
Yeah, I know Denver is one of those teams that they value their locker room, as every team in the SFL does, really. But, I know Denver really finds strength in their front office when it comes to how they build their team. And so, them committing to an offensive line only shows that they're willing to commit to their players, right, to their team. And I think that any player that gets selected to Denver is lucky to be going to such a great organization. And I think, offensive line may be off the board for them here. I think they're going to stay true to what they posted in player openings. They're going to look for a linebacker here or that wide receiver 4.
Yeah, and sure enough, right on cue, Cam says the pick is in. I'm going to go on wild goose chase and just say maybe that third linebacker spot. Cam, where does Denver go with this pick?
With the 50th pick in the SFL Season 18 rookie draft, the Denver Nightwings select Juan Mississippi, outside linebacker. San Diego, you're on the clock with the 51st pick.
You know what? Maybe I've been drinking that same stuff that Ramos is drinking during broadcast. I don't know, but I just had a feeling they go with third linebacker because it just seems to me, in my experience, similar against teams that have that third linebacker, it gives them a lot of versatility in both the run and pass defense. So, Daniel, what can you tell us about this pick, Juan Mississippi?
I mean, we felt that they were looking for a linebacker, and this is a really good linebacker. I assume they had good communication beforehand talking about picking him up. He's great in the locker room. He's great in the chat. I showed up a whole bunch. And I think this is a very good fit for Denver because this is probably going to be part of their two-way contract, and he's going to move up into the future.
Yeah, those two-way contracts, that's been a hot topic of discussion amongst SFLM players and owners in the last couple of weeks. But, Stephen, is this one gentleman that you happen to interview in your interview process?
Oh yeah. We loved Juan Mississippi. Just number one, based off the player name. We loved the energy that he brought, in the minors and in the SFLM, and had a really good interview with him, and definitely somebody that we had on our board. And unfortunate to see him go, but we think Denver hit a home run here with this one.
Yeah, I do too. First of all, the name you can't help but be caught by the name. Juan Mississippi. And I remember seeing him in chat, and he was another guy who was, kind of a high energy guy. So, Gerald, what can you tell about his stats and how did he do in the minors?
Well, he only played 6 games, but he had 49 tackles, one and a half sacks in 6 games, 6 tackles for loss, 6 pass deflections. Also had interceptions. So, I think Juan Mississippi here going at 2. I guess you could say 2 Mississippi as well. But we're gonna have. I think he's gonna fit well in this defense. He's going to be a great player.
I agree. Denver, they tend to build for the long term. They tend to get players who stick around for quite some time, which I think it's an advance for teams to have players who stick with their organization for quite some time because it helps you build and develop into their strengths and what you're trying to do offensively and defensively. And I think Juan will be a good pick, be a good player for them for quite some time, hopefully. But next up on the clock, we have San Diego, who surprised us all by picking Lottie Lou as their 4th receiver in the first round, picked 7th overall. What do you guys think they're going to go with this pick? And I'll start with you, Stephen.
San Diego, one of the teams that needs quite a bit of players on their team going into this draft. And I think, with quarterback kind of being off the board, the only competition was Fort Worth in that quarterback market. So really the whole field is open for the Mavericks. I could see them going with another defensive lineman to try to shore up their front 7, maybe even another linebacker. San Diego showed last season that they're willing to roster 4 linebackers. They maybe don't want that 4th defensive lineman. So it wouldn't shock me at all here with the amount of linebacker depth that is available that they go another linebacker.
That would not surprise me at all either. They spent a lot of money on offense. My guess is they're going to show up that defense with this pick. But Jared, what do you potentially see them going with this pick?
I agree also with the defense. Frankie Custer from Salt Lake had a really great season, highest strong safety on the board. If they want to go free safety, I would like to see them get either maybe Orlando Grimm or maybe even a Travis Foster to put some great value at that position because they have, like you said, they spent a lot of money on offense. I think that would be one of the 2 picks for me.
Yeah, Daniel. They spent a lot of money on receivers. They also spent a lot of money on the cornerbacks. They brought in Zach Lay from Charleston this past season. I believe he's the highest paid corner. Really quick, what do you think they're going with this?
I could actually see them trying to take tight end. We know tight end, there's not a whole lot of positions in it, and they could use the tight end too for their new quarterback to start throwing the ball around. Just really get him involved.
The pick is in. Do they go tight end? Let's find out. Cam, what do you got for us?
With the 51st pick in the SFL Season 18 rookie draft, the San Diego Mavericks select Isabella Blackwell, strong safety, Portland. You're on the clock with the 52nd pick.
That's a great pick for San Diego. In my opinion, they are one of the winners of this draft and this offseason in terms of free agency. Daniel, what can you tell us about this pick, Isabella?
Isabella, her first season was one of the best strong safeties. She came back. She did it again. They got to the finals. She was one of the headstones for that defense, part of the Blackwell clan. So you know all about them. They know they're all together, community, all about the communities. Great pick. I think this is going to be a perfect spot for San Diego and Isabella Blackwell.
San Diego's front office is one of the clear winners this offseason with some of the moves they've made, some of the players they've taken from other teams, or I should say convinced to sign with them from other teams. Steven, what can you tell us about this pick, Isabella?
I think it's a great character pick for your locker room. The Blackwell family has entered the league and really taken it over by storm, starting with the SFLM. And I think that's just going to continue into the pros. And I think if you were able to snag any of the Blackwell family, you got a nice cornerstone piece for your franchise. And so I think, San Diego, again, going right to the well, picking characters, getting good character picks, people that they can get into their locker room and build with. And I think that was a perfect pick for them.
Something tells me somewhere down the line that the Blackwell family saw the Harrell family and said, I think we can do this too.
Mm-hmm.
And they decided to join the SFL.
Yep.
Gerald, what can you tell us about her?
Isabella, like I said, has a great career at Lexington. 75 tackles, had 5 pass deflections, 4 interceptions, was tied for third most in the league, and also had a strong safety position, had 3 tackles for loss. I think that's a very good move. And like I said, the Blackwells, I've heard nothing but good things about them. So welcome to the SFL, Isabella.
Yeah, like I said, San Diego's making big moves this offseason, and they continue with this pick. I love the pick. But next up, we have Portland on the clock. Portland also doing well this offseason in terms of free agency and the draft. They have a couple holes to fill. That defense is stacked. I mean, I think they can pretty much match up against anyone. They did lose the defensive coordinator to Florida, who's now their head coach. What do you guys think they go with this pick? And I'll start with you, Daniel.
Well, one thing to take into account is their salary is only 72. They only got 1 pick, so it's not that big of a deal. I can see them taking a 4th wide receiver, maybe, perhaps. Or I can either see them going tight end or maybe someone in the secondary, just to free up and get that nickel and dime going.
What about you, Steven? What you thinking here?
Daniel doing his research, man. Love to see it. First time on the panel, and he just knocked it out of the park with that. I think you couldn't go wrong. I mean, wide receiver, like you said, tight end, or that, looking at it, maybe a dime back for your defense. And all of those positions make sense. There is some value available in all those positions for Portland to go through. So really, it's Portland's pick here. I think they've got a great opportunity right now to go out and get their guy, or gal, I should say.
What about you, Gerald?
Oh, I totally agree. Wide receiver could be, if you're looking about for value, maybe a Dougie Day, a Cali Blow. Tight end wise, I don't think you can go wrong with Jackson Roberts. That's a sure good pick for them out of Annapolis. 6'4", 255 would be a great run blocker.
So not only are you naming position, but you're also naming the player. We'll see just how great you are with that. Like I said, they're stacked on defense. They can match up against anyone with any style, whether it be the 3-4, 4-3, 4-4, maybe even some bear, 5-2. Who knows what they're going to do? I fear for that week 1 opponent because you just don't know what's going to come. And we'll see what they do here. I'm glad that they did get at least 1 offensive lineman in this draft. To me, the offensive line and defensive lines are the most important positions in all of football. You got to have them. There's no such thing as too much depth in those positions, so I'm glad to see them pick up Jaden Taylor this weekend. I'm not quite so sure where they're going to go. I'm thinking they're going to get a second tight end before they get that 4th wide receiver. We just have to wait and see because it'd be nice. I mean, I noticed that their tight end, Nelson Lozano, he picked up a run blocking animation on his player, so perhaps they're looking to show up even some more depth and make running back Ezekiel Love even more dangerous if that's even possible, because the guy seems like once he makes that first man miss, if you can't get your hands around him, he's going to be gone and out to the house. So we'll see. It's going to be interesting as they are taking their sweet time getting this pick in. And right on cue, sure enough, and right before the clock hits 0, the pick is in. Cam, where's Portland headed with this pick?
With the 52nd pick in the SFL Season 18 rookie draft, the Portland Fleet select Mike Savage, tight end.
Tight end.
Louisiana is on the
sucker.
clock with the 53rd pick.
So it didn't take long for us to get a surprise here in this third round. Gerald, I see the expression on your face. Tell us about this. What are your thoughts?
Unbelievable. Number 1 receiver in yards, 953 in 8 games, 10 touchdowns, averaging 15.9 a catch. Wow, just moving him to tight end is a shock to everybody, but what a pickup here. The 4th pick in the 3rd round, I think he's going to be a special player for Portland. And as a defensive player for Vancouver, I'm not looking forward to this pick.
Steven, you talked about players picking up or losing weight a few moments ago. I'm sure Savage is going to put on a few pounds, go play on that offensive line next to those guys as a tight end. What do you think about this pick?
Has the size. 6'3", definitely has the size, but not quite the weight, I think, to be a tight end just yet. Going to be a little bit of a development project, but definitely going to be able to carry the value. Maybe a Michael Pitts kind of hybrid tight end look there. Maybe another wrinkle in that weapon of an offense, right? You can get those 2 tight ends out on the field, maybe get Mike Savage out in the flats, and with that speed and agility can take advantage of that, maybe that dime back matchup or that safety matchup, or even a linebacker best case scenario. So a dangerous weapon added to Portland's offense here. Just definitely gonna need to work on his weight and strength a little bit, I think, to be able to put his hand in the dirt and take on some of those edge rushers.
Daniel, I saw the look of perhaps maybe perplexed on your face when the pick was put in. What do you think about this pick of them converting him into a tight end?
Well, we did say that they might go wide receiver or tight end. I guess they went the best of both worlds with a wide receiver into a tight end. So, but I mean, all you have to say about Savage is hashtag Savage, right? That's a trend in the chat. The man makes moves, and it's going to be different seeing him in tight end, but he's still going to be able to catch the ball, and he probably make some moves along the way. He'll get the first downs when you need to. You just got to worry about those blocking now.
Yeah, I'm sure that's one thing they're going to key on throughout his progression is pass work on his strength and his run blocking and things of that nature, because Ezekiel Love's going to tote that rock about 40 times a game, and he's going to have to be ready for it. So if he's happy playing that tight end 2 position, hey, who are we to complain? I'm sure when the phone rang, he was glad to answer it. Probably wasn't expecting to be drafted as a tight end, but hey, it doesn't matter how you get there. Just get there and you can build your career from there. And I'm happy to see this kid drafted. I remember talking to him and his brother last season, who ultimately ended up going to Baltimore. And just a great kid, great personality. If you talk to him, he'll tell you all the time. It's all football all the time. He's always on the camera flexing his muscles and things of that nature. So I'm glad to see this kid get drafted. They're not expecting him to be on the board for quite this long. But it doesn't matter where you go. It's just a matter of just getting there and taking things from there. So moving on. With that shocker, Louisiana, who shocked everyone but me this past weekend, picked up Randy Squarebush. Squarebush comes into the league in his first season with a higher contract than his teammate, Colin Hart. They're going to play Batman and Robin in that backfield. Wow. I mean, talk about another week 1 opponent. Who knows what's coming with that lineup? I can't wait to see that game, see how they utilize those 2 guys. But Steven, where do you think Louisiana goes with this pick?
Still got 2 players that they're going to have to select in this draft.
Yep.
About 125 cap points remaining. So, you're looking at about 62 points
something
each.
a person.
Yeah. So you may look. I think that they could go for a 5th defensive back here. They have starters Mike Ryan and Tank Bennett as their safeties, Evan Arthur and Rollman Hood at corner. I think they could use a little bit of help in their defensive backfield. And again, there's plenty of value there in the defensive backfield. I think Louisiana could hit a home run here if they're looking that way.
And the pick is in just that quick, gentlemen. Really quick, Gerald and Daniel, just do me a favor and just name the position that you think they're going to fill.
Corner.
I was thinking wide receiver.
I'm thinking wide receiver too, but I think that's going to come with their last pick.
I think they're going to
Cam.
wait on the wide receiver.
Yeah, so do I. Cam, what do you think they're going with this pick? Can you tell us?
I can't tell you. With the 53rd pick in the SFL Season 18 rookie draft, the Louisiana Revolution select the meme machine, Dante Grimm, strong
nice.
safety.
Good pick.
St. Louis is on the clock with the 54th pick.
You know, I was debating whether Dante would go to either Louisiana or Mexico City because they tend to draft those kind of character players. And sure enough, that's where he went. I didn't want to say that ahead of time, but wow, I'm not surprised. So, Daniel, what can you tell us about this character guy? I mean, he seems to be either hate him or love him type guy. Tell us about him.
It all depends on how much you love the memes. I personally love the memes that he throws out every week. I'm a big fan of him. He did help out with Minor Fights Insights a little bit. He got busy with his work schedule and things like that. But I mean, he's definitely a character you want in the locker room. I'm sure he's gonna cause some laughs and he'll be a menace out there on the field.
Steven, is this one gentleman you talked to?
Not necessarily in an interview personally, but definitely had some interactions publicly. I love the memes. I love the energy. In retrospect, Louisiana taking him, considering some of their history with social media and how they like to post things, I think he fits perfectly with what they like to do. I think that this is a great fit, a great pick. It fills a need for their team. Also, it fits right in with their what I believe is their personality, their character. And so I think it's a great pick for Louisiana.
Gerald, how did his career in the minor leagues go this season?
This season, he actually had a really, really good season. There was 8 games, 69 tackles. He had 4 interceptions, one of only 4 players to have a fumble recovery, 7 pass deflections, 4 interceptions, 6 tackles for loss. So I think it's going to be a great fit. And like you said, with all the memes and everything that he does, they love to be forefront in the media. I think it's a perfect fit.
With Johnny being a former player on that team, I think he'll be he'll fit in nicely with that team. And the way that Gerald likes to play defense with that cover 3 style, he's very aggressive, and I think it'll be a perfect fit for him because of the aggressive defensive play style that he plays with. But moving on, next up on the clock, as we see the Eagles. No, it is not a clip on this time, bro. My grandma does not play that. Apologize, sir. But next up on the clock, we have the St. Louis Gladiators, who also, in my opinion, one of the winners of free agency, bringing in one of my former players, defensive tackle Max Knight. St. Louis, coming up on this clock, they only have one position left to fill. Steven, what do you think they're going with this pick?
I mean, available cap, roster composition. I mean, it looks like it's going to be a fullback here. Again, no real availability, no path to offensive lineman right now. So I mean, you're either looking. I can't see them going a third tight end. So you're pretty much looking at fullback here for St. Louis.
I happen to agree with you, and they also, they lost Bill Cherry, who went to San Diego to be a tight end. So fullback is a position that they've covered it in the past. I'm sure that they've at least interviewed some this season. Gerald, where do you think they're going?
Oh, I definitely think they're going to be going fullback. Their defense is pretty much set. They have a great core of defensive back with Walker Law, Colin Douglas. They got David Leathers, Gerald Winkler, Nicholas Warner. I think they go fullback here, and I think they go with Scott Powell out of Washington.
Looking at this roster, Daniel, Ragar Law signed a contract of almost 96. I think that's probably the highest value corner ever signed in the history of this league. Where do you think they're going with this pick?
To me, I have to agree with the other two. It has to be a fullback, right? Their offense is purely based on having a fullback. Cherry got the run a lot of the times as well into St. Louis. It was really hard to actually defend, being a Tulsa native that I am right now. So I think they have to go fullback, I think, personally.
Well, we shall see here in a moment as the pick is in. Cam, what did St. Louis do with this pick?
Eddie, with the 54th pick in the Season 18 SFL Rookie Draft, the St. Louis Gladiators select Christopher Dean, fullback, Charleston via Las Vegas. You're on the clock with the 55th pick.
Christopher Dean is off the board. Daniel, tell us about this guy.
Well, that's really interesting because he's a tight end that's now moving to fullback. So
Yeah.
that means there's still a fullback left on the table for someone else in the future. I actually don't know too much about Christopher Dean. I'm sure the other people do, but he's a Tacoma guy. I think he'll do well. It's going to be a transition period, though, to get into fullback, I think.
Yeah, I mean, it is a building process, but thankfully for him, he does not have to be the star right away. They have Eagle Mondavi, who led the league in catches last season, I believe, and you got Phil Delavu, and they spread the ball around as much as any team in the SFL. Cam freaking praises them all the time, and just forgets about teams like Arizona like to spread the ball around. But hey, that's another story for another day. But
I can mute
Zero. Tell us about Christopher.
Moving from the tight end position to the fullback, did have 11 catches for 79 yards on 12 targets, so he's a very reliable receiver coming out of the backfield. I think he's going to be a great fit there for Cairo, busting holes up in the fullback position. And man, you have with the other, so you mentioned all the receivers, but you have two tight ends and Phil Koss and Guy Clausen that can absolutely be a godsend here for Christian Brown. So nice move to fullback for Christopher Dean. As a tight end, you weren't going to get anywhere in the St. Louis offense with those two, as I mentioned before. So great switch of position, and it's going to be another big weapon for Christian Brown.
I absolutely agree with you. They spread the ball around, so he does not have to be a playmaker day one. He can just come in, learn from those guys, at the same time progress his player, and I'm sure he'll find a way to fit into that offense nicely, and we'll see how they move along with this upcoming season. But next up on the clock, we have the Charleston Predators, who, after switching ownership for the first time in team history, made the playoffs and won a playoff game. And they were about that close from beating the three-time champion Florida Storm in the second round. Guys, I'll start with you, Daniel. What do you think Charleston is going with this pick, as they have two selections left to make?
They have two selections left and 116.61 salary around there, something like that.
Yeah.
So to me, I think they're probably going to go secondary piece, probably another strong safety, free safety, or cornerback, just to fill out their backfield a little bit more. That's what I'm leaning towards. They could also take a second tight end, or if they're really feeling bold, maybe go fourth wide receiver. But I'm feeling secondary.
I happen to agree with you, Gerald. Do you agree as well?
I think secondary is not really a need, but they have a couple areas in free safety and strong safety. I agree with Daniel. That'd be the way to go for them. And there's some great value with a couple of players. And I guess the pick's in.
The pick is in. Steven, what position you think they're filling?
With the run going at tight end, they may feel the need to try to get their pick at tight end if they feel like there's enough value left in the defensive backfield, which I think there is. So if they're wanting to fill that second tight end spot, I think that this is probably the spot that they go for it.
Charleston spent a lot of money on their linebackers. I mean, a lot of money. It's going to be hard to run on that team this season once that defensive line starts to grow. Cam, where did they go with this 55th pick?
With the 55th pick in the SFL Season 18 Rookie Draft, the Charleston Predators select Dusty Rourke, tight end.
Great pick.
Las Vegas via Charleston. You're on the clock with the 56th pick.
So you were right. They did get that second tight end spot. I'm just wondering if they have to renegotiate some contracts to meet the cap, because, wow, they are pushing it, man, to meet that $1,800, that 1,800 point cap limit. Steven, what do you think about this pick?
I love it. Dusty Rourke has made an impression on me in the general chat. I thought she was really came in right away and wanted to be involved. Was looking for ways to get involved, and I think Charleston has a really great front office. They're very hungry, and I think that they saw the same things that I saw. Dusty Rourke going to be a really good piece for them. I think she's going to be somebody that's going to be a multi-season player, somebody that's going to be dedicated, committed to her team that drafted her. And so I think for Charleston, that's a great pick.
I agree. Charleston is building for the long term, and that was a great pick picking up Dusty, as I too believe she's long for the long haul. Gerald, what do you think about this pick? What can you tell us about her?
Dusty Rourke played 8 games, 32 catches, 1 touchdown, 8.5 yards a catch. She did have a fumble during the season, but I think with coming into the live with Lyric Da Vinci as well, she's going to be a great fit.
Daniel, what are your thoughts on this pick? You agree?
Well, like Mr. Hacker said himself, we're running out of tight ends, and we just saw one go to fullback. So this makes sense to me. You need a tight end too. It seems like that's going to be the trend going on. We need to fill out the spots that we think we're going to need for the future, and tight end 2 makes sense with the 23 people now.
I agree. You got players out there, tight end like Caesar Ackerman, still on the board, waiting to see if he gets drafted. But next up on the clock, as Cam alliterated to, Vegas. Next up, Gerald. Vegas likes to spend a lot of money on superstar players. Do they even have any cap space left? And what do they do with this pick?
Vegas actually has almost 200 points there, 199.95. I'd like to see him pick up a third corner right here. That would be a great pick, and there's very good ones that are out there right now. They could go maybe a tight end. They picked up Scott Fowle, which was a great pickup in the first round. I think they go cornerback here.
As you can see, the Vegas brass here on television, showcasing his thoughts and his brain trust, looking at who he's talking to right now. Steven, tell us where you think Vegas is going with this pick.
Yeah, plenty of cap flexibility here. And I think with the value that's out there, I think Vegas might go wide receiver here. Mike Savage, departed, went to tight end, and I think maybe Vegas might be questioning whether or not they should have maybe pulled the trigger a little bit earlier there. But I think it makes a lot of sense for them to go wide receiver here. They are a high octane offense. They like to move the ball down the field vertically, and so they're a team that I would think would want to roster 4 wide receivers, and they had the cap space to do it.
I wonder sometimes how many times, Savage may have reached out to teams, or if teams reached out to him because he, or perhaps he was panicking and thinking that, man, I'm going to do anything it takes to get drafted. Or maybe he even wanted to be a tight end. Who knows, So, but with this next pick, Daniel, what are your thoughts on him getting a 4th wide receiver? You think Vegas does something like that?
It's very possible. By seeing Mike Savage go, I was going to lean more towards maybe they get a second tight end, because Scott Johnson is like one of their best running backs. He's had a tremendous season last season. So maybe a second run back, open up those lanes for him to go straight down. And if not, maybe they go bold, maybe take a defensive tackle, or turn someone into a defensive tackle, I should say, because there's none left in the draft.
Well, the good thing about Vegas, it's never a good thing to lose quality players, but the good thing on the positive side of it is freed up a lot of cap space, as Slen and Red Sawyer were 2 of the most highest paid players at their position. So it freed up a lot of cap space. But the pick is in. Cam, where did Vegas decide to, who did they pick up in this draft in this 3rd round?
With the 56th pick in the SFL Season 18 rookie draft, the Las Vegas Furies select Laquan Smith, cornerback. Vancouver has the 57th selection. When we come back, this is round 3 of the SFL Season 18 rookie draft.
Welcome back to the third round of the season 18 SFL draft. Vegas pick is in, and they went cornerback. We were just talking about it during the commercial break. They're typically known for drafting picking up safeties to play that corner spot. Steven, what do you think about this pick?
Yeah, usually when Vegas goes into their dime and nickel back, they usually fill that role, that group with safeties, and so I was a little shocked that they stayed at corner with Laquan Smith, but the second rated cornerback value wise left in the draft. I mean, 73-34, wonderful pickup here this late in the draft for Vegas. They are a turnover machine. They generate a lot of turnovers. They're phenomenal on the special teams. So a player with that high value, Laquan Smith, going to Vegas is dangerous. It could be a potential defensive rookie of the year.
I totally agree with you because Vegas is known to create turnovers. My only question is, are they going to have the pressure up front to get those turnovers and make it easier for those defensive backs to get? Gerald, we were talking during the break about how corners, for whatever reason, have not necessarily been coveted this season in the SFL. And every year, every season, it's always a crapshoot about what positions are going to be coveted most. And we've seen teams go after kickers and punters in the early rounds. But for whatever reason, this season, even with all the, with the expanded rosters, teams are going to go in 3 and 4 tight ends. But yet and still, corners aren't necessarily being sought after. Why do you think that might be?
Well, a lot of corners are getting picked up in the free agency. Like in the same division, Denver picked up Nick Kindler and Ron Hoff. You have a lot of great corners in the SFL in this division itself. But you need to have a cornerback like Laquan Smith, because with all the wide receivers with Denver, like we mentioned, Mills, Quintero, Battle, you have T.J. Punk in Arizona with Ryan Owens and Connor Weston, John Blaze, Mason Kirby, and that's on the same team, but K. Marion and Al Dillapre. You have some great wide receivers in that division. You need to get a solid cornerback. I think Laquan Smith does the package very well.
Daniel, what do you think about Laquan Smith and his play this season?
Well, me and Laquan are actually good friends outside of this, so I know a little bit about him. He's an honest man. He could be polarizing. He has his opinion, but he'll tell you what you want to hear. Like, he'll tell you the straight truth, and that's amazing. He's a great pickup. I think he's player ready. He's play ready. He's ready to go in the pros. So I think he's going to be, like Mr. Hacker said, he's probably going to be one of the front runners for Rookie of the Year.
I totally agree with you. If Vegas can get that pressure up front like they're accustomed to getting, I agree with those sentiments. I think he'll be in the running as well because they known to get turnovers too. But next up on the clock, we have Vancouver, who was able to pick up some a nice piece, in my opinion, in the first round. I was surprised that Earl Fields was still on the board, and they picked him up to replace a recently departed linebacker, Earl Fields. So what do you think they're going with this pick here in the third round here, Stephen?
I think Andy Hamilton in that front office group there, Michael Percoco, I think they might actually be looking to solidify their defensive line here. If they can find a linebacker somewhere, I got a head nod from Gerald. If they can find a linebacker that is willing to move down to defensive tackle, I think that's the move for Vancouver, especially considering their cap space. I mean, that's kind of right in the ballpark here with their final pick available. I think that would really round out their defense, help give their back end some help. They've got a new corner, Julian Valerian, but a lot of the same names are there. Dean Maddox, Major Key, Ashley Rose Finch, Mark Lopez, and Drew Hamilton. So I think getting a defensive tackle here really helps the back end of that defense when you can create that pressure with your front seven.
I agree with you as well. Vancouver, one of those teams who played a lot of nickel last season, so picking up Earl, they probably went starting playing a bit more of a 4-3 style. But the pick is in, and we don't want to hold Cam up any longer. Cam, where does Vancouver go with this pick?
Man, I wouldn't want to play this team this year. With the 57th pick in the SFL Season 18 rookie draft, the Vancouver Legion select David Gears, wide receiver. Atlanta's on the clock with the 58th pick.
Daniel, so it seems like every game we've heard Kendra Hall's name mentioned like 500 times. We've heard, pretty much all their receivers, even their tight end, Dan Daly's name called. So now I see them pick up yet a fourth wide receiver. The sky's the limit to what this offense can do, and I'm sure right now Tom Pepper is just smiling ear to ear. Tell us about this pick.
So David Gears was actually one of the front runners for the Miners when it comes to receiving, just based on like big plays, stuff like that. This will be their fourth wide receiver. They might have to do something with the salary coming up, but I think this is a great pick. We know Tom Pepper likes to throw the ball, like to throw the deep ball, and unfortunately last season I felt a little bit of that myself playing against him. So glad I don't have to play against him now.
Well, Arizona does not play them this season either, and I'm counting my blessings. But you're right, Steven, they're going to have to take a pay cut somewhere, do some contract negotiations with some people or something, I don't know, to bring this player in and make the cap fit. But what do you think about the draft and them picking up David?
You know, if there was, I think there's only a handful of teams that can kind of make that kind of move happen, considering where they are cap-wise. And Vancouver is one of those teams. Everybody there really buys into that Legion mentality. And so looking at their roster, they have players on their team that they can cut value from that would willingly do it to make room for a future star in the league like David Garris. And I think that, you know, it's a fortunate position. It's a very, very high-powered offense to go into. Tom Pepper last season broke the single game record for passing. And so for a rookie wide receiver to go to that offense, they have to be thrilled to be there.
Well, Gerald, he's your teammate now, and Andy just sent me a DM and said that you were willing to cut all three of your animations to make this work.
Wow.
Tell us about this pick.
You know something? I probably would. It's a great pick. You got the second overall wide receiver in yards, 899, averaging 17 a catch, just under the minor league lead, 8 touchdowns. And he's going to, well, you got to have the mentality, like you said, the Vancouver mentality. I would give up 2 animations just to get another person here. But the only thing is now they're going to score so fast, I'm going to be on the field too much now. So it's
Gerald doing some live. This is live negotiation right now. This is the magic, baby. That's negotiation. Andy said 3. Gerald's like, man, let's talk about 2, maybe 2 for it.
Knowing Andy, he'll get me down. He'll get me down to 3 or something like that. But no, I think it's a great pickup. I mean, more offensive firepower for Tom Pepper. Just look at all the weapons that he has at his disposal now. Like I said, it's great to watch from the sideline, but those 3 plays, 80-yard drives after we just got off the field kind of takes my wind a little bit, if you know what I mean.
Yeah, you guys score in a hurry. I mean, talk about having to keep the oxygen tank nearby on standby at all times and to pick up a fourth wide receiver. My goodness, paired with James Walters and Robert Redford. I mean, how do you defend all that? It's going to be interesting to see how the season unfolds for that Vancouver offense. But moving on to the next pick, number 58 overall is the Atlanta Swarm. Atlanta picked up a linebacker in the first round, and they're just doing what they do. And I don't know what they're going to do. They picked up a tight end in the second round with DJ Bannon, who I thought was a great pickup. Where do they go with this pick, Steven? What do you think they're looking at?
You know, traditionally, I think everybody will tell you that Atlanta is usually better for whatever reason when they have 3 wide receivers on their roster. To me, it looks like safety, defensive back, or wide receiver would make a lot of sense here. I know they would probably, I know they would probably like to have an offensive lineman, but I don't think, again, that's just not a path right now in the SFL for that due to the current marketplace. So I think Arizona may be looking to have to restructure a little bit somewhere down the road in their next couple of picks. But, to me, wide receiver and defensive back make a lot of sense here.
Well, we just seen Vancouver pick up a fourth wide receiver. Daniel, what do you think Atlanta's looking to do here?
I mean, they're pretty loaded as is, so it's really just a cherry on top at this point for this team, right? And I think maybe secondary is what I'm feeling. Probably help out the dime or nickel package a bit, but I mean, looking up and down, they got a pretty stacked team already.
The pick is in, Gerald. Really quick, what do you think Atlanta's going with this pick?
They're going a free safety or strong safety, I think.
Free safety or strong safety, say you. Cam, was Gerald right here with this pick?
With the 58th pick in the SFL Season 18 rookie draft, the Atlanta Swarm select Don Fletcher, cornerback. Mexico City's on the clock with the 59th pick. Give Gerald half a point.
Half a point.
So, Daniel, with Vancouver picking up a fourth wide receiver, we just talked about it. Not enough cornerbacks are being drafted, but at least in my opinion. But Atlanta addresses that need and gets theirs off the board. They now have 4 corners along with 2 safeties. What do you think about this pick?
Don Fletcher was one of the guys on the Boise Mud Dogs. He'll talk trash when he can. He likes to talk that trash. But I mean, overall, I think this is a good pickup. He's good intercepts. I think he'll fill the role really good into the nickel and dime package if they go that route with him.
So me and Cam were just talking about it during the All-Star game, during a break, about how these expanded rosters it's just gonna make things so much tougher to score. You got to put methodical drives together sometimes to get the ball downfield. Steven, what do you think about this pick of them picking up a 4th cornerback?
I think actually the body type fits exactly what Atlanta looks for when they go for defensive backs. Kind of tall, long and lanky, but maybe a little thin. And I think that Atlanta does a really good job defensively in scheming their defensive backs into the right passing lanes. And so a long, rangy kind of defender like Don Fletcher, I think is going to fit in really nice to their defense. And so I think that'll be another really interesting defensive back that's gone late in the draft that could maybe make a push for Defensive Rookie of the Year.
Gerald, the pick is in. They picked up their 4th cornerback. I kill Mark all the time. When I look at his roster up and down, it's like, man, dude, you're cheating with all this talent out here. BDG needs to be tested for digital PEDs and, Boo Chisholm making highlight catches and,
his Boo in the All-Star game went off.
He went bananas.
He was amazing.
They're cheating out here, man. I'm about to call Mark after the show is over with and tell him, dude, you got to forfeit some of these picks. This is ridiculous. But, Gerald, what do you think about this pick they just picked up?
That's a great pick. It's going to actually remove the J's there because they got J-Rock, Jack Napier, and Jay Miraculous. But great pick there for the 6 pass deflections, 2 interceptions for 9 yards. But Stephen Hacker hit it right on the head. Just a lanky, just able just to get their fingertips on passes. It just seems like they are always able just to deflect the ball out of the wide receiver's direction, and that's a great pick. I was thinking they were going to go more of the free safety route, but it's a great pickup for Atlanta getting Don Fletcher.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to unfriend Mark because I play him in week 2, and it's probably gonna get ugly, but we'll see about that. But next up on the clock, the Mexico City Aztecs, Season 9 SFL champions, shocked the world when Ray Bentley came out of retirement and decided to play fullback. I thought it was a mistake, but they proved otherwise as Phoenix Jones has come in and fit in nicely, led the league in touchdowns, and Ray Bentley is, in my opinion, the best route-running fullback in all of football. But, no knock at Florida, but just as my opinion. What do you guys think, Daniel? What do you think Mexico City goes with this pick?
I think husband is about to meet wife. I think we're going to see a Meerkat go right here. I think they're all about family in Mexico City. They're all about keeping people together. I think this is where Derek goes.
I happen to agree with you. Gerald, do you agree with that pick?
Totally, 100%. I was just looking at their secondary. That'd be a great pickup to match up with Jeffrey Deck, like you said. It's all about family. Got the Dags there. Might as well get the Meerkats there as well.
Stephen, do you co-sign with everyone's thoughts here? Or you think they're going elsewhere?
I just for the sake of being different, I will go out and say, hey, if they want to look at the defensive back market outside of a safety, they could certainly find some value there. They could also look at, if they want another defensive lineman, look at the linebacker well. We've seen a couple of linebackers go. And if they're really wanting to get somebody on their defensive line, they could be calling in a linebacker, because if they want to have both defensive line and linebacker, that position scarcity is there. So they may be forced to try to look at the front 7 and hope that later on in the draft they're able to get their defensive back of choice.
I think that they definitely pick up a third linebacker, but I think it's going to go later in this draft. I'm thinking Meerkat as well, and they want to get that. They want to continue that marriage going, and I don't think they want to see any fights at the dinner table if they're on opposite teams playing each other. So let's see what they do. Cam, Where did Mexico City go with this pick?
With the 59th pick in the SFL's Season 18 rookie draft, the Mexico City Aztecs select Derek Meerkat, free safety. Tulsa's on the clock with pick 60.
They can always move Meerkat to the corner position, or they can keep him as a safety and put him in a slot. But Gerald, what can you tell us about this pick?
Meerkat, 73 tackles, 2 interceptions with a touchdown and a forced fumble. A very solid player, and I guess the player with his wife now on the defense for Mexico City. It's a great pick, husband and wife, and maybe if they do argue, like you said, maybe they can use some of that aggression on the opposing players.
I totally agree with you, and I made the mistake Friday of just praying that was actually her husband she was standing next to when she got drafted this weekend on Friday night. I'm glad I was right. Steven, what do you tell us about this pick?
I love the Meerkats, both of them. Mexico City hit a home run, being able to get both of them onto their team. I think they're going to be great community members for a long time. Definitely very passionate, as you saw, willing to come out and be on camera. Derek, I know, was one of the first ones in the Google Lounge, waiting to be on camera, waiting to hear his name called. So I mean, that kind of passion is infectious, and it's definitely what the league is all about. So it's great to finally get to call his name here in the third round. Going to be very, very interested in how his career progresses.
I think Mexico City is also one of the winners of this draft. Daniel, other than that New England apparel he was wearing that just totally disgusted me, what can you tell us about this pick they just made?
Well, I'm so happy for Derek. He can get out of my DMs now for the last two rounds. You got picked. You're good, buddy. Congratulations. This is a great pick. He's been helping everywhere. He helps us with our podcast. He helps around and I think he's a great community member. And I'm just so glad with the family. Now no one has to sleep on the couch.
Amen to that. So, but like I said, Mexico City is winning this draft. They made some great picks. And I look to see what they do this season. But next up on the clock, Tulsa. They've made some interesting moves. You know, they moved Sanzo to wide receiver away from that power back spot, and they brought in Douglas Brown, who's going to play more as a finesse back. And I can tell you from firsthand experience, the Sims, you can definitely see the difference there. That guy is going to be a playmaker. Steven, where do you think Tulsa goes with this pick? It's their last pick, so they got to make it count.
It is their last pick, and I think, oh boy, looking at their roster, I mean, I think that they could go defensive tackle, they could go defensive back, and I think that they're going to be able to get that player at full value, and maybe look at restructuring some of their veteran contracts to make up some of the cap difference. I mean, they're looking at 120 points still available, and they've got only one pick left, so plenty of cap space there. But position needs it looks to be defensive tackle or defensive back here would be the way to go for Tulsa.
I'm surprised that Tulsa has a lot of cap space left, and Gabriel Manning signed to, I think he only started this season with 11 animations, so he took a pay cut. He's only starting with 117.4, so they got a lot of cap space left considering all of that. Gerald, what do you think they're going with this pick, man?
I agree with Hackers. It's going to be defensively. I'd like to see them get a defensive tackle to help with Berto Demora and Chris Andrews and Jaden Swift. But say the free safety help would be as good as well with Daniel and Ricky Thornton. But I think they really need to shore up that front line. I think it's going to be maybe an outside linebacker here to be moved up to the defensive tackle role.
We shall see. That will be another interesting move. We've seen that happen once already today. Daniel, do you agree with that assessment, or do you think they're going elsewhere?
I would like to see them get defensive tackle, and also it might be a little wrong, but Tulsa does have 2 picks left. So
yes, they do. So
the salary is not as bad as you think. We do have some salary room, but we do have 2 picks.
Sorry about that, Daniel. Sorry.
No problem. I just happen to know. I just happen to be on the team.
Yeah, you have very, very good insight to that. I'm really good with that. I think we were hoping to get Meerkat, but he didn't come to us. So I think we were going originally. My guess would we get a cornerback or a safety that could play nickel or dime. I would love to see a defensive tackle though, like someone change from linebacker to defensive tackle. I think we need that for the front.
Daniel, while you're sitting there spilling all the tea about who you wish they would have gotten, do me a favor when this show is over and have Dion send me his week 1 playbook because we played you guys week 1 since you
I got you.
spilled
Don't
all the
worry.
tea.
I'll do that just for you.
I, I appreciate it. I need all the help I can get. So, Tulsa is milking every last bit of this 5 minutes. They got about 40 seconds left to get their pick in before they forego the pick. I don't see that happening, but sure enough, right on cue, the pick is in. Cam, what does Tulsa spend that money at on this pick?
Eddie, you're like the SFL's joke jukebox. Okay, they never put anything new in it, and you just need a coin to get something out. Hey, honey, what do you want to hear? Hey, let me hear the Manning. Too many animations again. All right, I'll put it in. G7? Okay, G7. Gabriel Manning took a pay cut. He doesn't have 18 animations anymore. It's like every time you hand this guy a microphone, it's just anyway, whatever. I love it. They're classic hits. With the 60th pick in the SFL Season 18 rookie draft, the Tulsa Desperados select Travis Arthur, free safety. Sioux Falls is up next. 61st pick on the clock. Love you, Eddie.
No, you don't. I love that pick, Daniel. Tell us why what do you think about that pick, picking up Travis Arthur?
He is always in the chat. Every game that he's there talking. He's there. I'm assuming he's talking in the minor chat as well. I'm gonna make that assumption. He's always in our podcast talking with the people. This is a great pickup. This goes to what I was saying. I think we were thinking about getting maybe Meerkat for a safety position for this exact spot. Travis Arthur is just as good, just as great. I think this is a great pickup. Tulsa keeps knocking out.
I think Tulsa is also, I know I keep saying this, but I think they're one of the better teams in this draft in terms of quality players. I mean, just thinking about in terms of, their excitement. You got Douglas Brown, who everyone knows with the podcast. You got King Rashid, who did a great job on Ashley's podcast getting interviewed. Picked up Brooke Bezo. I mean, a kicker of the need to replace JT, who left for London. Tulsa is doing a great job in this draft, picking up quality talent. It may not necessarily be in terms of value, but they're building for the long term, and I like the moves they made thus far. Steven, what can you tell us about this pick, man?
Yeah, I think Travis Arthur makes a lot of sense. One of the players that I had the benefit of for recruiting actually kind of was playing some Halo with them. With Harish, and found out that he lives in Oklahoma, right? Tulsa, right there. I mean, he's in his backyard. Makes a lot of sense that kind of just finds his way there. And I second what Daniel said. I think he's going to be a great community member. Has already displayed a lot of leadership, willing to put himself out there. So I think that Travis Arthur there in Tulsa, and couldn't agree with you more, Eddie. Tulsa really hitting a home run here in this draft. Having those players on your team that believe in your system, believe in what you can do, can make all the difference in your brand and the perception of your team moving forward. So I think Tulsa really needed that, and they're doing a really great job here in this draft and free agency.
I remember Dion a few months back mentioning on someone's podcast how he was looking to improve the brand of the Tulsa Desperados, and I think he's doing a great job of doing that with these picks he's made this weekend. Gerald, what can you tell us about this player?
Travis Arthur had a very good season. Second in interceptions with 5, had 8 pass deflections. Great size for his position. 6'2", 218. Great value, being the 4th valued free safety. And like you said, with Tulsa, with all the picks that they've done so far, Tulsa is going to be a big player in the Eastern Division this year.
I totally agree with that assessment from all of you guys, and I look for big things for Tulsa moving forward. They have guys who do podcasts, guys who help out around the league with other teams' podcasts. So I think they made some great moves this weekend, and I can't wait to see how that team and that brand goes moving forward. But next up, we have the Sioux Falls Sparrows, who shocked the country picking up G.P. Wells. At least they shocked me, at least, and one other owner that I know of who shall remain nameless. But they picked up G.P. Wells in the first round. They picked up Moose and Corey Dobbins later in the draft. They've done a great job filling some holes that they needed filled. Gerald, coming right back to you. They have a few picks left. What do you think they go with this one?
I'd like to see them get a tight end, probably a Caesar Ackerman or even a Jackson Roberts. Jackson Roberts, 6'4", 255, would be another big key to go along with Ruth Mitchell to block for G.P. Wells. I think that would be the move. If not, they're kind of like thin in the secondary, but I would go tight end here, and I'd probably go either Jackson Roberts or you can't go wrong with Kyle Storm out of Boise, 6'6", 260.
They lost Gunnar Lewis to free agency to San Diego. Did a nice job replacing them and with A.J. Warren, another team with 4 wide receivers. I mean, they did that last season, though, and I can tell you, K. Marion is a ball player and a future superstar because trying to defend him was a problem. I can just tell you from personal experience. So I doubt they go tight with a wide receiver there. They didn't play with a tight end last season. Steven, do you think they can get a tight end this season?
You know, I think that if they want to, they totally can. But with Ackerman somehow sliding through, I think that makes a lot of sense to me. If you wanted to have a tight end, that value is kind of right there at the fringe of what you would want for a starting tight end. And I think that if they wanted to go that route, it makes a lot of sense. You know, I look at their roster, and the one thing that I see is no kicker, no punter. And I think that, the position has been picked through, but I think that if, Sioux Falls wants to commit to a player here, they totally can, and nobody would fault them for it. I think, they have a glaring need on special teams.
I wholeheartedly agree with you. As Ramos says, #kickers matter. Daniel, I think this would be a perfect spot for someone like Caesar Ackerman to go to at tight end. What do you think about that?
When I was looking through all the tight ends right up before this, I actually had Caesar Ackerman to Sioux Falls. So I think this is a great pickup. He can catch the ball like the best of them. He's a little small at the tight end spot.
Yeah.
But he's good at receiving, and I think they should get a tight end while there's still some on the board.
Well, the time has expired per Cam's graphic up here for Sioux Falls to make this pick. I think perhaps Caesar may have fallen because of his height at 6'1". I'm just not quite sure if he's tall enough to play tight end, and perhaps they might ask him to move to fullback or whoever decides to draft him as one. Who knows? But
I had some Sioux Falls news, Eddie.
What's that?
I don't know necessarily. I hope that I'm not infringing on anything, but I know that Kay Marion and Jason Williams got married over the weekend, and I want to wish them all the best in the world in their future endeavors. I think that's a great moment, and I just wanted to share that. I thought it was a huge moment for those two in the league, and wanted to let everybody know that they're moving forward with their love and all that good stuff. So while we were waiting, I just kind of wanted to share some insight to the league.
That's wonderful news. Perhaps we shall see Kay Marion donning a Fort Worth jersey sometime soon.
No, that's not what I'm saying, Eddie. Don't put words in my mouth. I was just saying that I thought that was a great moment. It has nothing to do with me and my organization. It has everything to do with Kay Marion and her moment.
That's wonderful. I actually have Jason Williams' jersey. He emailed me. He mailed me a Jason Williams jersey for me to put on my wall, which hopefully I have soon. But my wife decided it was time for me to paint this office. So once the room is painted, I'll get his jersey up on the wall. But Sioux Falls, as we continue to wait to see if this pick is going to get foregone, sure enough, right on cue, the pick is in. Cam, who is Kay get to call a teammate this season?
With the 61st pick in the SFL Season 18 rookie draft, the Sioux Falls Sparrows select Caesar Ackerman, tight end. Fort Worth's on the clock with the 62nd pick.
I won't say I told you so, but I told you so. Daniel, I can start with you this time around. Caesar Ackerman, highest rated tight end on the board. I don't know. I'm not sure if his height is what kept him from getting drafted, but it didn't stop him from making plays like this we see on the screen here. Let's tell us about Caesar.
Yeah, so I think size plays a big role for tight end too, but this is going to be their first tight end, so I think this is a natural fit for him in this position. He also does graphics. He can actually do graphics, which is something that Sioux Falls might need now with Axel Raven leaving to go to San Diego. So this might be a natural fit for them, step up for the community and help out with them with doing social media maybe and maybe graphics.
I know he does graphics because how do I know? Because I interviewed him. But yeah, he's a great kid. I saw him on Ashley's podcast as well. I think he lives in Alabama, if memory serves me correctly. But Gerald, what can you tell me about this player?
Averaging 10.8 yards, had 2 touchdowns during the season. I think it's a great pickup for Sioux Falls. Like you said, I think the size might hurt him a little bit. I mean, if you can pick up a little bit of size, that would be fine. But I think as a basically it's going to be a safety valve for Julian Tyree. I think that's going to be a big help for him and his developing. I'd like to say a better quarterback. I mean, he's one of the top 2 all times. But having that safety valve in the tight end could be really helpful.
Stephen, as Fort Worth is on the clock, I see you over there multitasking, probably making sure your guys who you're paying well, handsomely, I should say, are doing what they're supposed to do. Tell us about this pick that Sioux Falls just made picking up Caesar.
You know, I think that really rounds out what they have to offer offensively. I think that was I think they waited as long as they possibly could on the tight end. They let everybody else almost go out and get their tight end, and somehow were able to get the top value, and worked out perfectly for Sioux Falls. You got to give them tip your hat to them for being patient and letting the draft come to them. But now they've rounded out their offense, and I think that they're going to be looking defense and special teams the rest of the way. So I applaud the move for Sioux Falls to be that patient, because I don't know that I could have been, but it ended up working out perfectly for them.
Well, Stephen, while you're over there multitasking on your next selection, I'm going to move on as the Fort Worth Toros are on the clock. Stephen, no, I'm just kidding. So, Daniel, tell us what you think Fort Worth might do with one of these picks here.
Just give me a wink, Hacker, if I'm anywhere close, okay? So I'm thinking they go. I feel like they're going linebacker. Let me see. Yeah, I think I'm feeling linebacker personally, either in defensive tackle or in their natural linebacker spot. I think they're going to fill the hole there. So
you're going linebacker, huh? Okay, that's an interesting take. What about you, Gerald?
I was thinking linebacker or the defensive tackle as well, right with Daniel. I think going with a linebacker, you have great value in a Matt Anderson, Sean Robinson. Sean Robinson, 6'2", 260, could fill that linebacker position, but can also fill the defensive tackle spot along with Joey Schwint. So we'll see if they go that way. I think it's going to be either a linebacker or defensive tackle as well.
Fort Worth lost their tight end to Lauren Pococo to DC, as she wanted to be, I'm guessing she wanted more playing time. I don't know, but they played a lot of 2 tight end sets. So God bless her with that. I'm thinking either tight end 2 or perhaps I'm stretching here, another cornerback. You know, I mean, they are in a division with DR Sim, for Christ's sake, but I'm not sure. Maybe they get a second free safety. I would ask Steven, but I don't want him to void any contract. So
I don't tip my hand. I won't tell you even if that was the case.
That's right. I'm well aware. But they do have some cap space here. A number of picks left to make. But I'm going to guess they do that or convince someone to move to defensive tackle from that linebacker spot. Those are my 2 guesses. But we'll see here in a minute. They got about 40 seconds left on the clock to make this pick. Apparently, Cam is allowing teams to, still get their picks in, even though they're well beyond the 5-minute limit. But we're going to talk about that later, Cam.
Processing. I've got a good insight that says that things are moving on that end.
Yeah, I can attest to that because our pick was in, and like 2 minutes went by before I saw the announcement on the screen.
Yeah, they got processing, and they got things to clear and make sure it all works. So I don't think Cam wants to take away all your camera time. He wants to let you talk. He knows how much you love that.
I'm glad my wife didn't hear that. But, I think they're going with a tight end too, maybe a second free safety. But I tell you what, man, you guys are loaded at corner. Adam Davis. Adam Leach and Aiden Davis are 2 lockdown corners. Aiden in particular, he's great at press coverage. He gave James Hands all he could handle. And now I see you guys got Nacho Sicario coming in to play corner this season. So perhaps they go with a second free safety. Maybe convincing the linebacker to play defensive tackle is my guess, as the time has expired, but I'm assuming the pick is in, and we'll just get that from Cam in a moment. Yeah, I'm going to go with that. Maybe a fourth receiver who doesn't quite have the value of some of the other guys, I'm going to go with perhaps. But, yeah, so perhaps they get someone like Callie Blow, or I won't say Dougie Day, because I think I know everyone knows where he's going. But we'll see here momentarily as we wait for the pick to get in. But I'm going to assume those two, yeah. Tight end two, or perhaps a second free safety. And right on cue, I shouldn't say right on cue because Cam is late as usual. But the pick is in. Fort Worth. Cam, where's Fort Worth going with this pick?
Oh, Eddie, you're lucky to have Hacker on this panel to give you the facts. He definitely put a smile on my face and calmed me down just a little bit there. With the 62nd pick in the SFL Season 18 rookie draft, the Fort Worth Toros select Frank Bernstein, free safety. DC's on the clock with the 63rd pick.
Did I not call it? Free safety, off the board, and Frank Bernstein. Daniel, what can you tell us about this young man?
The man loves spreadsheets, so he is going to be great helping out with spreadsheets like that. He's a great guy. He's I actually on the podcast or on the Twitch, wherever we monitor leagues fight and insights, was the first time actually talking to him, and he's just a well-rounded guy, very good, very sociable. It actually was a pleasure surprise to actually talk to him. So I think this is a very good pickup.
Gerald, so actually I'm going to come to you, Steven. So you guys lost David Harrell, who was also great with stats and spreadsheets and, doing things with to help with scouting teams and things like that. So Frank Bernstein, like he's going to come in and fill in nicely as his replacement potentially. No, is that not the case?
Yeah, we really love contributors. That's something that we at Fort Worth typically look for is we want people that are invested in the league, looking for ways to get involved. And Frank had done a great job with. I'm actually using his spreadsheet right now as we're doing this draft coverage. And so, as a rookie, got involved to a level of depth that really impressed me. I'd said on Fights and Insights when I saw his spreadsheet making ability and all that, I was like, this guy's a future GM in the league. And so I was extremely shocked that he fell to us here because aside from player value, the character, all of the right things are there. We just got to wait and let the player value get there. But we're extremely excited to have him on our team, find ways for him to get to work and get those levels of contribution up for the league because I think he's got a lot of potential there.
That is the same reason why I myself drafted our fullback, Tariano Rivera. He didn't have the most value of fullbacks out there. But we saw him as a long-term project for us. He's open and available to do stats for us and help out Mark Mello in that regard. So that was a huge plus and something we were looking for because, yes, it's nice to have one person do stats, but if you can have two, you've hit the jackpot. And I look forward to no longer being a person that you're calling out about those stats not getting covered. Gerald, what can you tell us about this young man, Frank?
Frank Bernstein, 5 tackles for loss, 4 pass deflections, 2 interceptions. Very solid in the secondary for Tacoma. 68 overall tackles. I was actually going to say, as a sleeper, I was going to say about maybe Frankie Custer going here, but I think it's a great pickup. Great value of 57.9. Goes back in the free safety helping break Blake Prine there. So a great pick there for Fort Worth, and that's gonna. We were all looking for defensive tackle, but it was a great fit for free safety.
I totally agree with you. I love the pick. It's always a blessing to be able to get people who can help you both on and off the field. You can never have enough help. Take it from someone like me who tries to do it all myself, and you will get burned out, as I said time and time again. So to have people who can help you out is just another notch under the cap and another reason to draft them above others. It's not always about value. It's also about character, and it's about what you can do for us off the field as well. So I want to tell you, Stephen, great pickup, man. Congratulations on what seemed like an excellent pick for you guys. But up next, we have the DC Dragons, who got about 2 minutes and 15 seconds left on the clock. They have a number of picks remaining and some holes to fill. Daniel, where do you see Destro going with this pick?
So looking at the holes that they really need, I could see them going to linebackers that will switch into a defensive end. Probably fill that out, get a second defensive end. I think that's where I'm leaning towards. I could also see them take someone from the secondary, but defensive end is what I'm leaning for this pick. Try and get some of those good linebackers now out of the way.
What about you, Jerry? What do you think they're going with this pick?
I agree with that. I was looking at the linebackers now. I think that'd be a perfect thing to move. Get him for that fourth linebacker, or even get him for that defensive end spot.
Steven, what do you think they're doing with this pick, man?
I'm not sure, but I'm actually thrilled at how quickly DC was able to get their pick in. Making us look bad, following up after that fiasco there. So very curious to see where DC goes here with this one.
Offense sells tickets, defense wins games. You need both to work, but defense travels home and away. I think the DC Dragons pick up a defensive end, but considering the talent available, I'm going to go out on a limb and say perhaps a linebacker from someone from Memphis, who I've drafted several players from. Perhaps they're going with Saeed Gore here with this pick. Cam, what do you got for us?
With the 63rd pick in the SFL Season 18 rookie draft, the DC Dragons select Saeed Gore, defensive end. Move from linebacker. Jacksonville's on the clock with the 64th pick.
Ramos, make room, bro. That's all I'm going to say. Daniel, tell us about Saeed.
Oh, this is a great pickup. This is exactly what they want in this spot. I'm glad that they've made the move from linebacker to defensive end. I think this is going to be a perfect natural transition, and I think this is a very good move for the DC Dragons.
I agree. They needed help on the defensive line, and they just got it with these expanded rosters. And they now have a front four. They also have 3 linebackers. So I look for that crew as they develop, led by Benny Butcher and company, to really take over. They were a force last season, but unfortunately could not close out games in the fourth quarter when they lost those fourth quarter leads late. And perhaps with these moves made on defense, that'll be a thing of the past. And I play these guys later in the season, so it's going to be interesting to see how that plays out. Steven, what can you tell us about this pick?
I think I really like it. Looking through their roster, I'm really surprised that. Not surprised, I should say. I'm really proud, I guess, of how DC has grown in their time. They really started with an uphill battle, and they fought the entire way. They found some really good pieces along the way. Kevin Say, their running back, has really helped them out. Josh Gill, Jeff Banfield are receivers for them that have been there pretty much since the beginning. And so it's good to see some of these long-term investments starting to pay off for DC. And I think, a position like defensive end here late in the draft, like you said, Eddie, really going to shore up what you're trying to do because it takes both offense and defense to win the game. And I know you mentioned it earlier, but Lauren Prococo, definitely a player that was a tight end too for Fort Worth for many seasons, and now getting her opportunity at DC, and she's locked and loaded. She's ready to go. Playmaker, a young tight end in the league that I expect to make some big waves for DC.
With the value of 86, she's ready to be a tight end number 1 today. Mm-hmm. And as you mentioned, they are building for the future, and they have done a great job considering they started, I believe, the season 16, I believe it was, with something like 16 rookies. I mean, to see them progress this far along and convince guys to stay there for the long term and just do a good job of selling them that vision that they're here, and it's going to take some time. But once they get there, if they stick together, they can make some things happen over there. And it looks like DC is well on their way. Gerald, tell us about this pick.
I love it. They shore up their defensive line. They've picked 4 players for the defense. They took Declan O'Rourke, Aaron Gooden, Darrell Bullock. They picked up Kappa Jones, which I think is a great pickup at strong safety for them. This definitely shores up the defense. Like I said, they've grown exponentially over the last couple seasons, and I think that was a great value pick. He had 39 tackles, tackle for loss. To move him to the interior and the defensive end spot, I think, is an absolute gift for DC at that pick 63.
Jacksonville is next up on the clock, and Mike All is showing us that he's a big Marvel and DC fan with all the shirts he's been wearing this weekend. I don't know if he just went out to the local thrift shop and picked them all up or what, but if he already had them in his drawer, then kudos to him for having all that stuff ready to go for the shows this weekend. And just like that, I guess we talk too much because their pick is in. Where do you guys think they're going with this pick really quick? What position? I'll start with you, Daniel. Defensive back. What do you say?
Yeah, I was thinking cornerback. Get a corner at this point.
You agree with that, Gerald?
I was going to agree with the corner, but I look for a dark horse for a fullback.
Let's see. Nice. Cam, where does Jacksonville go with this pick?
With the 64th pick in the SFL Season 18 rookie draft, the Jacksonville Kings select Terrence Pearson, cornerback. Denver's on the clock with the 65th pick. When we come back, this is the Season 18 rookie draft on SFL Twitch.
Welcome back to the third round of the Season 18 SFL Rookie Draft. Fellow, we were talking about it during the break. This gentleman here, Terrence, is the highest rated corner on the board. Daniel, why do you think he fell so far in the draft?
Honestly, I don't know. Maybe salary reasons. Jacksonville got a lot of cap that they can spend and use for this pick. So it might have been just a salary option, but this he's ready to play. This is a very good pick for Jacksonville. He'll fit in nicely with the cornerback core. He actually is higher than Bernard Gooden, just a little bit in terms of stats.
I was just about to talk about that, Gerald. This pick here, Terrence, he comes in with more value than their number 2 corner. Is he going to be a starter, and you think Bernard becomes their slot corner?
That I'm not sure, but he comes in like a great value, 77, 89, the number 1 cornerback, as we said. It's gonna be interesting to see. I'm pretty sure he'll get the start at least in a couple nickel packages. But yeah, I think it's a great pickup to really shore up their cornerback spot.
I totally agree. I'm surprised he was still available, and I'm sure he is very pleased. You know, like I said, it's not about where you go in the draft. It's just a matter of getting picked up. Steven, I'm very happy with this pick for Jacksonville. What do you see about it?
Yeah, I think Bernard Gooden being an owner player, I would suspect that's a move to nickel for him. As you've got a rookie player with that kind of value, you get him out there and you start him, you let him grow and make a name for themselves in the community. I think it's a great pickup. I think Jacksonville is on their way with those 2 new defensive linemen, defensive tackles, and now a secondary member here. I think they're well on their way to having a nice defense. And if I may, Eddie, I just want to go ahead and just jump on to a breakdown of Denver really quick. And looking at their roster, I mean, I wouldn't be surprised at all to see them try to grab a linebacker here, but considering what they posted in player openings. So, again, linebacker is pretty much there for Denver to take if they want. And I think they need to get moving if that's the position that they want, because the position is thinning out.
Yes, it is thinning out very quickly. They've had 3 linebackers in the past. Gerald, as Denver has about 4 minutes left to make this pick, do you see them going linebacker as well?
I was actually thinking about them picking up a 4th wide receiver, like maybe a Cali Blow, Anthony Delano. If they go linebacker, I mean, they've done a lot of good things defensively. I mean, look at the free agents they got: Hoff, Kindler, and I think the big one is Igor Barbatov. I think that was a big pickup. I think maybe defense, but wide receiver is going to be a second guess.
Well, they didn't have us waiting long. The pick is in. Cam, who does Denver take with this 65th overall pick?
By the way, the Bucks have officially kicked Antonio Brown to the curb after his shenanigans today. So, Antonio Brown, if you want to join the league, you can be a base copper player. Go down to minor leagues and build your player up, and maybe you'll be something someday. With the 65th pick in the SFL Season 18 rookie draft, this player is going to be something someday. Denver selects Adrian Ellis, wide receiver. San Diego's on the clock with the 66th pick, and Brown can take Ellis' spot.
Yeah, I've heard about. I didn't see the video yet, Cam, but I heard about it right before the show started.
Oh, it's good.
Very interesting. Yeah, I got to check it out later. Daniel, what can you tell us about this pick, Adrian Ellis?
Well, they did say they wanted a wide receiver 4, and they did linebacker the previous pick. So this only makes sense that they were looking for something easy to fit into salary. Probably will make him a copper player. So this makes sense, and it's nice to see that Ellis is willing to take that to progress for the future, right? They're thinking long term with this pick, so I like that he's willing to make that commitment.
What I like about it also is the new rules that allows Adrian to play as a 2-way contract player, so they can continue to develop and keep that value that they had in a minor. So that's an option that players need to explore if they want to play this season and beyond, and have the option of returning to the minors. Steven, what do you think about this pickup for Denver?
I think, Denver historically has always been a team that I looked up to. So, again, I feel like this is a great spot for any rookie player to go to. And at wide receiver, I think you just have to trust in the process that, it may not be your time right now, but Denver is going to do all the right things. And if you play the game, Denver is going to find a way to make you a focal point in their offense. And so I think for Adrian Ellis, it's a great spot. 5'10" is a little small for my taste at wide receiver, but that doesn't mean that other coordinators and other coaching staffs can't make that work. So very, very excited to see how Adrian Ellis is able to work his way into this Denver offense.
The good thing about being 5'10", 5'11", I used to have Jacob McCall as my slot receiver, and that's a matchup nightmare for those linebackers if they're playing zone coverage. Gerald, what do you think about this pick that Denver just made? They said they wanted a wide receiver, and they got one.
Love it. Set 3rd overall in yards, 3rd overall in touchdowns, 2nd in targets, only to Gus Scott. I think that's a great fit. And boy, a young wide receiver. Looking at the other wide receivers, they get to learn from Quintero, Battle, and Keel. Boy, another great pick for Denver to go along with their earlier pick in this 3rd round, Juan Mississippi. So Denver on all cylinders right now in their drafting.
They're doing good. They went out and said they did what they said they're gonna do. They wanted a wide receiver. They wanted these other players with low value, willing to allow them to develop with their team. And like we said, they can keep 2-way player contracts and continue in the SFL minor leagues. So the sky's the limit for these players. And it's like Steven said, it's good to see that they're willing to forego some of that value to get drafted in the league and play at the pro level. But next up on the clock, with about 2.5 minutes left, are the San Diego Mavericks. Daniel, they've made some splash moves already in this draft this weekend. What do you foresee them going with this pick?
Well, something tells me they probably will wait for quarterback for last, is what I'm feeling right now. So I'm thinking maybe a linebacker switch to defensive tackle would be the best spot for them, because they just picked up a secondary strong safety. So they got secondary covered for the most part now. So I'm looking at defensive tackle maybe. So someone from the linebacker spot switching over.
I happen to agree with you on that pick. Steven, do you agree?
Yeah, I think that makes a lot of sense, considering the market for quarterback right now. You own the market in terms of the only team needing one. So, again, I have no problems with San Diego waiting. It only makes sense. And looking at other positions, I definitely think, if they want to elect to go a fourth linebacker, there is definitely the position group out there to make that happen, or you can move them into the defensive tackle position. I think, San Diego's front office has really been rejuvenated, really put in the work this offseason, and have no doubts in my mind that they're going to get creative in finding the right fit for them.
Well, we don't have to wait any longer because the pick is in. They wasted no time getting this pick in. They must be really excited about it. Cam, who did San Diego select with this pick?
With the 66th pick in the SFL Season 18 rookie draft, the San Diego Mavericks select Thomas Matthews, defensive tackle. Charleston, by way of Vegas, is up next with the 67th selection.
Gerald, what can you tell us about Thomas Matthews, defensive tackle for the San Diego Mavericks?
Great pickup for San Diego. We get to see them a couple times, and they're a tough boy. Their defense, they just showed up with Wolf Justice. Look at all the free agents: Justice, Genko, Raven. I think the biggest pickup was Zach Lee and Thomas Craig in the secondary. But boy, to shore up your defensive line with Thomas Matthews is absolutely phenomenal. At 15 tackles, 15 total tackles, but moving him to the inside, I think is a great move for San Diego. Great pick.
I agree with you as well. Zach Lay, not only was it big for the team, that was probably one of the biggest pickups in all of free agency, as Zach Lay was a ball player last season for Charleston. I was surprised to see Zach make that move as Charleston was on the way upward. But there's something that they're selling over there in San Diego because they got a number of great players going over there with them, along with including guys like Axel Raven. So I look forward to see what San Diego does because, we talked about Charleston trending upward. San Diego is as well. They had a number of tough losses last season, including against those Charleston Predators. So perhaps Zach Lay saw something over there. And as we see Charleston on the clock now, Steven, where do you see them going with this pick?
Well, I think that they got their defensive backfield shored up. That five defensive backs, they can go a sixth if they want. But, I think that, wow, actually looking at how their team is built, I might actually be prone to go defensive back here. They have 2 defensive tackles. They got 2 defensive ends. They got their 3 linebackers. They got 3 wide receivers, fullback, running back, quarterback. A tight end, offensive lineman. I think you're pretty much looking at defensive back. That's to me, it's what you have available, and I would try to find the best possible value I could there and squeeze that player in and make another playoff push.
Daniel, defensive backs are starting to come off the board here in this third round, but Charleston has always played with a 2 tight end system. Do they get a second tight end here, or you believe what Steven is preaching over there?
They're going defensive back. I feel like this is the time now where people start to make that move, start to go into the defensive back situation, get that nickel dime flattened out. Their salary is $51.59, so they can definitely squeeze someone in there for that amount.
That's interesting. What do you think about that, Gerald?
I think they'll do that. There could be a free safety for value like Sabo Kanan or Sam Blotner.
Well, the pick is in. We aren't going to hold it up any longer. Cam, where does Charleston go with this pick?
With the 67th pick in the SFL Season 18 rookie draft, there you go, Gerald. The Charleston Predators select Sam Blotner, free safety. Atlanta's on the clock with the 68th pick.
We're going to kick it right back to you, Gerald, since Cam was over there giving you all that praise. Tell us about this pick.
6 tackles per game, had 3 tackles for loss, had 1 pass deflection, but had 3 interceptions in only 5 games for the San Jose Flight. Great pickup to go along with Josh Reese back in that free safety spot. And a great pickup for Charleston defensively.
Charleston, very quietly, is making some good moves here this offseason. They picked up Dusty from Sioux Falls. They picked up Eric Hammer from world champion Florida Storm. They've made some great moves. They got Jacob Clear, who's over there coaching now, and they're doing they're quietly moving along here. Daniel, tell us about this pick, man.
It makes sense for what they needed to fill. So I think this is a really good pickup, and I think this is what we're going to see more as the draft goes on. People are going to take their secondaries now that they need, and I expect that might be the same with this next pick potentially, because I don't see a lot of holes for Atlanta to fill right now.
The Atlanta Swarm, I'm telling you, I tease Mark all the time about his roster. I think that guy's cheating over there. He's sliding Cam a $20 bill every time he submits his playbook or something. But before I get to speculating too far, I don't want my ownership taken from me. I'm just kidding, Cam. Do not take my team. My team loves me.
Joke jukebox.
But
Jukebox. Same old thing. We're replaying the hits.
Gerald, what do you see? What do you see Atlanta going with their next pick?
I think defensive back, a strong safety, maybe to help out Chris Henry. You got a great free safety in Moose Papineau. I think you can go there. Maybe a wide receiver 4. I don't think that would be. I think it's more going to be in the safety area. There's some great safeties. Frankie Custer, number 1 strong safety, is up there. Brian James, number 3 overall. So I think they're going to go defensive backfield here.
That's awesome. You know, Atlanta has a player on their team, strong safety, by the name of Chris Henry. And I love, anytime he makes a pick, they call him King Henry. And when he does it, he says in the game chat, bend the knee. And I love that. They need to put it on a T-shirt somewhere. Steven, what do you see Atlanta going with this pick?
You know, I think that the rich get richer. You know, we say that all the time in the SFL. It feels like that, you know, like you said, it almost feels like it's unfair sometimes. But, you know, when you've got a great system and you've put as much time in as Mark Chisholm has into the league, then, you know, your fortune seems to favor you. And I think Atlanta could really go anywhere here and, and get a win. You know, realistically, I think the safety makes a lot of sense. If they want to get creative and try to do something different special teams wise, they can. They can go punter. They can afford that. Really, yeah, I excuse me, having a little bit of a fit here, frog in my throat. I'm so sorry. But I really think that the opportunity is all for them. They can do whatever they need to do here, and really it could be a win for Atlanta.
I'm trying to figure out why Brian Dynasty is on camera with a jacket on. I mean, he lives in Hawaii, for Christ's sake. I mean, isn't it always warm over there? I don't know. But and then you got Mark over here somewhere in Atlanta headquarters cheating. And, you know, the guy takes his Xbox to work, and while everyone else is working, he's running Sims. The guy he should win a championship this season because he has more time to sim than anybody else in the SFL. And he must be happy with that pick because you can see him smiling, and the guy really ever smiles. So he must be happy with the pick. Daniel, what do you think they're doing with it?
Well, I think defensive back is the way to go. But, I mean, if they really want to be spicy, you go wide receiver 4. But they do have some cap space to do it. They got 65 remaining. So, I mean, they can make some moves still.
Well, the pick is in. Let's see what Atlanta and Mark Chisholm and company have done with it. Cam, take it away.
With the 68th pick in the SFL Season 18 rookie draft, the Atlanta Swarm select Honus Adabi, wide receiver. Pick 69, that's Mexico City. You're on the clock.
They should be fine at this point. Steven, tell us about this pick.
Well, I mean, just that makes them that much harder to game plan for. Now, 2 tight ends, 4 wide receivers, the nastiest spin move in the SFL, which is BDG Hollywood, and a young quarterback, Brian Dynasty, who's really, evolved and taken the Atlanta offense under his wing. And I think that, Atlanta's going to be tough. I think that they had the taste of the championship and they've been fighting ever since to get back there. And I think this is the kind of move that even though that, the critics and everybody will say, oh, Atlanta's better with 3 wide receivers, Mark went out and got himself a 4th weapon to really just push this offense. And it's going to be really exciting to see in season 18 how they use all the weapons that they have, because they have a bunch of them.
So, Gerald, Atlanta, Mark tells me all the time, I'm like, dude, you won a championship. You've reached a mountaintop. And he goes, dude, that was in season 14. No one remembers that. So he's out there working hard all the time, trying to get them back to another championship. I'm like, Mark, it was only a little while ago, a couple of seasons ago. He says, dude, it feels like forever. So Mark is over there grinding, trying to get his team ready. I know he's over there running sim after sim, trying to, keep his family happy, even though he's spending 80% of his time running sims. Where do you think they're going, man? I mean, how do you feel about that pick they just made, picking up yet another receiver?
Like you said, the rich get richer. It's a great pickup for him. He had 53 catches for 11 yards a catch, 2 touchdowns. I think it's just going to give Bryant Dynasty just another level of basically firepower with Boo Chisholm and Siege Falco and Ryan Roosevelt, along with Wooding and DJ Bender, who they drafted as receiver core. You can never go wrong with as many receivers as you have. Hey, you never know if an injury hits during a game, and it's always nice to have that backup. I think it's a great pick.
I totally agree, and I do not look forward to playing them in week 2. But next up, we have Mexico City, who has just under 3 minutes left on the clock to make their next pick. They've already hit a home run thus far in the draft. Steven, what do you think Mexico City's going this pick? They're in your division. Tell us about it.
It's a rough and tough division down there in the South, and it's a lot of fights happen in the trenches. I definitely think that Mexico City could definitely go defensive tackle, or try to find a linebacker out there that would be maybe willing to make that move, or even another linebacker. Again, a lot of work is done in the trenches. Mexico City is definitely one of those teams that likes to grind the clock. They like to run the ball with Phoenix Jones and Ray Bentley. And then if they can control the defensive game plan like they like to do, you can't. It's hard to travel into Mexico City and walk out with a win, and a lot of that's due to how they play defensively at home. And Ramos does a great job, so wouldn't surprise me at all to see a linebacker or defensive tackle, but even have a little bit of needed defensive back too.
Daniel, Mexico City plays a lot of ground and pound, man, and they eat up the clock with the run game, dish off to the flat every now and then, and of course, they keep Mike Daggs happy, who just signed the richest contract as a tight end in SFL history. I mean, he's eating well these days. He went out and bought his entire family a steak dinner, and probably his neighbors too, once he signed that contract. What do you think Mexico City is going? I'm gonna start calling him that in the broadcast game, the Gabriel Manning of tight ends, to see if he smiles back at me. Daniel, what do you think they're going with this pick, man?
I have to agree. I think they're going to go linebacker, maybe switch him to a defensive tackle, but I think they want to shore up the front, and then because they just picked up a secondary free safety, so they got that covered. They could pick up a corner, but I'm leaning linebacker because we are starting to lose a lot of names in the linebacker area.
If they do, they will make 3 linebackers on this roster, unless they decide to move them to tackle. That'd be interesting to see, because it would go perfect with their scheme of eating up the clock and then getting that defense right back off the field, and they can do so with that third linebacker, or perhaps to help out, like I said, and get a second defensive tackle to help out Dan Tritz, who's getting doubled like every game, all game, but he should, because he's an effective player playing the nose sometimes in that 3-4 scheme, or even a 3-3 nickel. So it'd be interesting to see if they do get a defensive tackle, because then it's going to possibly change up their defensive scheme and what they decide to do and approach opposing offenses. But the pick is in. Cam, wrap this bow up and tell us what Mexico City did with the pick.
Will do. With the 69th pick in the Season 18 SFL Rookie Draft, the Mexico City Aztecs select Matt Anderson, outside linebacker. Tulsa's on the clock with the 70th pick.
Nice
Where
pick.
is Harish? Where is Harish when you need him to announce the 69th pick?
This
But
pick is
moving
brought
on.
to you by Immaturity.
Yes, sir. Running rampant right now.
Stephen Hacker, you love that pick. Tell us why.
Well, partly due to my immaturity, but mainly just because I think that Mexico City really needed that linebacker position. And I think that was a great move for them. Again, we've called out the position scarcity. Linebackers starting to run thin, and Mexico City had a need there. And it's great to this late in the draft to be able to fill that position. You've already hit a couple of home runs, getting Angela Meerkat, Nick Lockett, and now you can go this late in the draft and find you another linebacker to get out there and compete with. I think Mexico City, low key always does really good in the draft. It's just a matter of again, they're a very patient team. Something myself, I don't know if I possess that quality, but Ramos always seems to just kind of let the draft come to him and takes what's available and hits a home run here with this one, I think.
Gerald, Mexico City was a minute and some change away from defeating Baltimore in Baltimore. They came up just short. Perhaps this piece here in Matt Anderson will help them reach that goal of getting to the championship game and returning to season 9 form. What do you think about this pick, man?
I think it's fantastic. You can either keep him at outside linebacker, or you can actually move him like you've all mentioned, to defensive tackle to go along with Dan Tritz, Skylar Kingsley now with the Meerkats, Angela on the line, and Derek in the backfield. I think Mexico City should shore up a defense. Like you said, they took Baltimore to the hill. And I think all these picks, plus getting that third wide receiver, Nick Lockett, I think, like you said, Mexico City just being really quiet in the draft, but making some very, very solid picks.
Nick Lockett taking the place of Fox Highway, who left Mexico City as a number 1 to play as a number 3 in London. But I digress. Daniel, tell us about this pick.
It's exactly what they were saying. This is a spot that needed to be filled, and we're losing people in the linebackers. Everybody wants a defensive tackle. They need to get a linebacker for it. Same thing with defensive ends. They need a linebacker for it. Now we're losing linebackers. So they really needed a spot to be filled, and they got what they wanted, and it was a good pick, and I think they're going to keep on that trend, taking the holes that they need.
Next up, Tulsa we have on the clock. Daniel, I'm going to forego you because I don't want you to get in trouble. I'm sure Dion probably sent you a DM telling you to stop telling us what you guys are doing. So I'm going to leave you out of this one. Steven, what do you think Tulsa's going to do with this pick?
You know, could be defensive tackle, could be defensive back. A really dark horse is if Tulsa wants to really change their look, right? And they could go punter. I believe that there is enough kickers that are available still if they wanted to try to work that angle and get a punter out there. I think that that's something that Tulsa could do to maybe make some waves in the draft and create some late draft buzz, capitalizing on all of the early round buzz that they've created. Maybe going punter here might be a way to add some late round highlights to their draft.
Punter is a possibility that remains on the board should they choose to do so. Brooke Beazle, I can tell you, I've run in Sam. She can kick it to the parking lot. My goodness. But kickers are really showing their value as of late in these last couple of seasons. But Gerald, what do you think, they're going to do with this pick?
I like them going with a defensive tackle, maybe moving maybe a Jason Strongbow at 6'2", 251. That's Sean Robinson still there at 260. I think moving them, the defensive tackle, will help. Maybe you go punter here, but I think it's either going to be. I think it's going to be either a linebacker moving to defensive tackle or just another linebacker.
261 as a linebacker? My goodness. Can he even get side to side from sideline to sideline weighing that much? That's a big linebacker. But yeah, I think that'll be a nice transition for him should he choose to move to defensive tackle, which should be a seamless transition for him. But wow, 261. What are they feeding these kids these days? I have no idea. Daniel, if they're right on the money with this pick, you don't have to say anything. Just give us a wink if that's the case.
I don't know this pick, but if salary is anything to do with it, their salary is 59. That's a good place for a linebacker to go defensive tackle.
See, you don't know this pick because they keep you out of the loop.
Yeah, you won't tell me anymore.
You got to. Hey, you got some smart front office move from Dion there because you don't want nothing to slip, right? Subconsciously, just and it comes out. Your first time on here, Daniel. We don't want to do anything to get you cut from your team, man. So I think it's a solid move from Dion for sure.
Dion knows what he's doing. He knows what he's doing.
He's about to hit that send button. He thought about it and thought otherwise. But the pick is in, so it's no longer a secret. Cam, what is Tulsa doing with this pick?
First, guys, before this pick, I want to give he doesn't know I'm going to do this, but I want to give a shout out to my man Ernest McCray. This guy's been in the green room the whole draft, man. This guy, look at him right there, man. He's ready. He's ready. I hope somebody out there has looked his way. But anyway, with the 70th pick in the SFL Season 18 rookie draft, the Tulsa Desperados. Wrong button. Select Jared Partich, defensive tackle, and the linebacker off the board. Sioux Falls is up next with the 71st pick.
Cam, you got to help these GMs out and tell us what position he plays.
DB.
Yeah, Ernest
Thank
McCrae's a cornerback right now. Again, Eddie, I had an interview with Ernest. I really enjoyed my time talking with him. I thought was a great character, a good person. I feel like is going to be around a long time. And again, if people are looking for that position, definitely somebody I would personally recommend to jump all over. In the nature of a draft, sometimes things don't work out how we'd like, but Ernest is somebody definitely could find a home anywhere in the league. Definitely motivated to be a part of the SFL. Somebody I believe that you would not make a mistake in drafting. Definitely showed passion in about an hour-long interview that he and I had. So somebody I can recommend bringing onto your roster for sure.
That's good to hear, Cam. Thanks for letting us all of us GMs and owners know that, because showing that kind of dedication and persistence is key. And I look forward to seeing him getting his name called, hopefully. But tell us about this pick they just made, Gerald.
4 games for the Navigators, 11 tackles, 3 tackles for loss, and a pass deflection. This is, the pick's solid, but I would have liked to have seen him, like we were talking about Sean Robinson at 260. I mean, he had 38 tackles. They had 3 pass deflections and 2 interceptions. But the value with Jared and Sean are basically nullified. So it's a great pick. It's a solid pick. 6'4", 245. I think that's going to be a great fit. I would like to have seen them go like bigger with Sean Robinson. But either way, Jared Partridge is just as good and to fill in that spot.
Do you agree with that assessment, Daniel?
Yeah, well, they kept it from me, but I felt like I could sniff it out anyway. I felt the defensive tackle coming, and it's a good pickup. The salary is right within their salary cap. It's perfect. It's a great pick. I'm looking forward to see what he can do out there in the field in the pros.
Good to hear that. Just hopefully he doesn't have a good week 1 when he plays Arizona. Steven, what do you think about that pick?
I think Tulsa, again, doing exactly what they need to do in this draft. Daniel pointing out how much cap they have, it makes total sense that they were able to go where they went and get that move in. So I'm really impressed with Tulsa this draft. Putting in the work, getting the characters that they got, getting the high value, high character players that they were able to get for their team. And so, again, it'll be really interesting to see how they're able to mesh and move all those pieces together as the season progresses. Because, like we said, you can build your core in the draft, but watching all that stuff solidify can be really fun. And I think Tulsa's done a great job here in this one. Shout out to Dion and Daniel and Berto DeMora, who I know has been working his tail off coming up through the SFLM. So great guys there. Tulsa doing a heck of a job.
Sioux Falls on the clock. There's about 2 minutes and 15 seconds remaining for them to make that pick. Sioux Falls made some interesting moves, as we alluded to earlier. What do you think they're going with this next one, Daniel?
Well, they made a good move. They got the tight end Caesar. I think this one might be a linebacker. They only got 2 linebackers currently picked or on their roster. So I can see them going for a 3rd linebacker. And we know right now that linebackers are going like crazy.
Mm-hmm. We shall see soon here. What do you think, Gerald, about that pick? Do you think that they're going to go with the linebacker with this pick?
Yeah, there's very few linebackers left. I think that'd be the way to go to get their 3rd linebacker. I mean, if you're going to get really crazy, do you take Zashto Black right now as a kicker? I mean, he only missed 1 kick during the SFL season. He was 9 for 10. I mean, just had as many misses as Brooke Breisel did. So that could be a spot, but I think Daniel hit it right in the head. I think you go linebacker here to shore up that core.
Linebacker and kicker will be my choices that I would pursue. Steven, do you agree with that?
Yeah, I would certainly. Those are the positions that I would pursue. But looking at the rest of the teams throughout the league, the landscape of things, everybody has a kicker. Sioux Falls holds all the cards, much like San Diego does when it comes to a quarterback. So Sioux Falls does not have to rush to a kicker if they don't want. It's just a matter of they have the need there. Do they want to pull the? Do they want to go with that move right here, right now?
I totally agree with you. There's about 40 seconds left on the clock for Sioux Falls to get that pick in. But then again, perhaps it's already in. I remember, with these expanded rosters, Sioux Falls, they could go a number of different ways on offense as well. They could pick up a 2nd tight end to try to get back to that prominent run game that they did when they had Colin Hart. But with GP Wells being a finesse back. Perhaps they're looking to stress to the outside, and what better way to do it than having 2 tight ends on the field and run some of those stretch plays. But we shall see. I mean, they've done it in the past successfully with the power back. I'm sure they can do it with a finesse back as well. So who knows? Perhaps they even look in the direction of a second tight end. Of a second tight end to help out Caesar Ackerman over there. With Caesar Ackerman being the bell cow of that offense at the tight end spot, we shall see. But like you said, they have some flexibility. They can wait and get kicker later. So perhaps they get that linebacker spot shored up now because, as you guys said, I think it was Daniel, they're starting to thin out here, and you want to get that position shored up while you can and build for the future. So, I mean, looking at their defensive tackles, they aren't really paid a lot of money. So, you know, you want to get some help on the other side of the ball as well to preserve these leads. But the pick is in. Cam, where did Sioux Falls go with this selection?
With the 71st pick in the SFL Season 18 rookie draft, the Sioux Falls Sparrows select Zastel Black, kicker.
Okay.
Fort Worth is on the clock with the 72nd pick.
So, Daniel, they did not wait. They wanted to get their kicker of the future locked up now. Ramos thinks it's important. Hashtag kickers matter. What do you think about this pick they just made? Should they have waited, or do you think they should go ahead and pick them up now?
Personally, I would have waited because I think linebackers you definitely need, and we are running thin. And like you alluded to, they don't have the highest value on the front right now as it is. So I think they should have got linebacker now. But, I mean, they need a kicker. They got their kicker. Congratulations to Mr. Black for getting drafted.
I'm going to go over to you next, Steven, as a owner / GM / coach. What do you think about them making this pick for a kicker now and not getting something else, not getting them later?
Personally, I think that, each front office has the ability to make their decisions however they see fit. How you build your team, how you see fit. Now, with what I saw that most teams had a kicker, unless you felt like there would be a run on punter, you didn't have to go kicker. But I don't fault anyone for filling their team needs. By all means, if you need to go get a kicker, get you a kicker. And if you want to see how things play out through the rest of the draft, by all means, that's your choice. And so I have no issues with it. I think I would tend to agree with Daniel. I might have played the marketplace a little bit differently. But I think at the end of the day, Sioux Falls needed a kicker. They went and got their kicker.
Jerry, we're going to allow Steven to multitask as Fort Worth is next up on the clock. And I'm seeing looking at his screen, making sure his GM is doing his job that he's paying him so handsomely for. What do you think about this next pick for Fort Worth?
Well, before I do that, I think Zastel Black for Sioux Falls, they are picking 7 spots down further, I guess, Sioux Falls is, and I think there's like 7 linebackers left. So they're kind of like in that area where like they might be getting like the last linebacker involved, but I think that was a good pick for them with the kicker. But for Fort Worth, I think I'd like to see him get maybe a wide receiver 4 here, or even maybe a linebacker into a defensive tackle. We just said about the linebackers. I think them getting the linebacker to move into that spot to help out Duffy would be great. But I think it's going to be either a linebacker to defensive tackle or a wide receiver 4.
I'm not even going to bother Steven. So, Daniel, where's Fort Worth going with this pick?
I feel like I'm keeping harping with this, but I feel like linebacker is the choice here. Maybe switching to defensive tackle. It would be my guess.
Said that before.
A couple more went off the board, man. I've been reading some of the messages going through, in our front office chats, and we're certainly, we're feeling it. That's for sure. But it's not a matter of necessarily dire concern for us. I still think that we did a really great job. I know the front office did a really great job reaching out to a bunch of prospects. So I know that we can look down our draft board even this late and feel confident with the bodies, with the players that we're going to bring in to our roster this season. So I think you guys are getting close. Maybe somebody that's not going to put their hand in the dirt so much.
I
If that tells you anything.
Well, E.K. Vincent, he's paid rather handsomely. So should you guys not look that way, I'm sure he could help, hold things down over there until you guys decide to address it, because I've seen him play and he gets sideline to sideline as fast as any linebacker in this SFL. But My pick, he's saying he's not going to put his hand in the dirt, so linebackers, they feel that need. But the pick is in. So, Cam, get Steven off the hook over here and tell us what Fort Worth is doing with that pick.
With the 72nd pick in the SFL Season 18 rookie draft, the Fort Worth Toros select Golden Dino, linebacker. After the break, what do we still have left in this draft as we head to round 4? San Diego still needs a quarterback. Find out where that's going at 75. In a couple of picks, Jacksonville will officially surrender their 81st. Louisiana gets the 88th, slides everybody up. We've got a handful of teams still picking to round out their roster. It's coming up next. You're watching the Season 18 rookie draft on the SFL Twitch channel.
Welcome back to the third round of the season of the SF. Now the fourth round, Cam, of the SFL draft. But before we start that, let's talk about this pick that Fort Worth just made, Gerald.
I think it's a great pick for Fort Worth. Picking up Golden, I believe. Is it, we'll get Steven here. Is it Dino or Dino?
Dino Golden, I believe.
Golden Dino was it Dino the first name?
Sorry, you caught me, Gerald. I just literally sat down, man. You caught me totally off guard. Our draft pick. It's Golden Dino.
Golden Dino. I think it's a great fit. Shoring up with E.K. Vincent and J.L. Browning. Had a great defensive year this year. 53 tackles, 1 sack, 5 tackles for loss, 10 pass deflections as a linebacker, which is pretty impressive in that stat. So I think it's a great pickup for Fort Worth.
Steven, tell us about your guy you just picked up.
I'm gonna throw this one on my front office staff. I've been busy with you guys the last couple of days. Again, I trust that he was on our big board. I see that he's there, and so I know that Aaron Alexander and Robert Garrett have vetted this guy and made sure that this was somebody that we wanted to have on our team. And so, me personally, I didn't have a whole lot of interaction with this one, but again, Robert has done a great job in his history when he has done drafting for us, and now he's kind of passing that torch to Aaron. And so I think this is going to be an Aaron Alexander, Robert Garrett pick. Definitely somebody that we're excited to get going for our organization. But, playing the third linebacker position for us is something that we take seriously, but it's also, we always try to put ourselves in a position to win schematically. So sometimes, we ask our third defensive, our third linebacker, hey, sub packages are going to move off the field. So again, somebody that's coming into for that position for us definitely understands their role, knows what to expect when it comes in terms of how much playing time they're going to see or how much to expect, so to speak. So definitely excited to get Golden out there for us and see what kind of plays he can make.
DC is wasting no time getting their pick in. In fact, with 3 minutes and change remaining, the pick is already in. Cam, tell us about this tight end I believe DC is going to draft.
Golden, apologies. Dino, we've got it fixed on our pronunciation guide. Make sure that never happens again. With the 73rd pick in the Season 18 SFL Rookie Draft, the DC Dragons select Kyle Storm, tight end. 74th pick, that's Jacksonville. You're on the clock.
Kyle Storm, Daniel, tell us what you know about this guy.
Well, I was feeling tight end as well. This is a very good pickup. This is their second tight end. He's good locker room presence. I think this guy is going to do really well in this spot specifically. He gives them a lot of wiggle room what they want to do on offense. So I'm really liking this pick.
Gerald, so Kyle doesn't have to be the bell cow tight ends. They got Lauren Prococo who's ready over there, so they can progress him along nicely, take the time with him. He doesn't have to expect to do too much from the offense. What can you tell us about Kyle as a player?
Big guy, 6'6", 260. He's going to be able to open up holes for Kevin Say. 12.1 yards per catch for a tight end. Was only second, only to Morgan Applewhite, but Applewhite only had 6 catches. But a 2-catch-a-game guy, sure hands. Like I said, big. It's going to be like another offensive lineman for helping Kevin Say run through those holes. And it's going to be a great second option for Shabazz Energy.
What are your thoughts on this play? Did you interview this player as well, Steven? Did you interview Kyle?
I didn't, but Robert Garrett, being a Boise, Robert Garrett and Aaron Alexander would definitely have great insight on this player. Just not somebody that I was able to get to this offseason. But I will tell you, 6'6", 260, that definitely moves the needle for me in terms of how big of a tight end we like. We definitely prefer a big body tight end. And so that definitely would have fit into the mold of a player that would fit with us. And, DC going that way, with Lauren Prococo there, another big body tight end, I think that it matches up very well with what they're trying to do in DC.
I totally agree with you. It reminds me of a tight end who's 6'7" in Tulsa by the name of Jason France, who's also a monster. But next up on the clock, we have the Jacksonville Kings. Mike All gracing us with his presence once again. And it looks like he has a red shirt on. I don't know what the heck's going on, but he's about to show us right now.
Spider-Man?
In the Spider-Verse.
Oh, my goodness. All right, dude. We get it, man.
He always wins the draft. Last season, he was like every other room, or like every pick was in a different room. And this season, he's got a different shirt. I mean, hopefully he's donating some of that because I know he's never going to wear them ever again. But Mike always wins the drafts, man. He's such a great guy, and excited to see what he does with Jacksonville here.
He's an exciting guy indeed. I met him at the draft.
This is their last pick. He needs to take this one off.
That's right.
You're telling him to take his shirt all the way off, Cam? I don't advise that. I do not advise that.
No.
We gotta
get him off camera. Get him off camera.
Yeah, get him off camera. Daniel, what do you think Jacksonville is gonna do with their last pick here?
Let's see. They could go to fullback route, or they can get someone in the secondary. They got a salary of 65, so I'm thinking secondary would be my choice, and that's where I'm leaning towards.
You're saying secondary. You agree with that assessment, Gerald?
I think his first guess. I think this is where we're going to see Scott Powell go off the board. Have a nice fullback there to complement Jared Woods in the backfield. You could go cornerback too.
Well, the pick is in. We aren't going to wait any longer. Cam, where either of these gentlemen right?
I wasn't paying attention. I was watching the ratings shoot up because of the little nip slip there, and now my wife in the other room is going, I thought he was doing a draft. Anyway, with the 74th pick in the SFL Season 18 Rookie Draft, the Jacksonville Kings select Zachary Patton, wide receiver, San Diego's on the clock with the 75th pick.
So Jacksonville picks up a 4th wide receiver to join the masses of teams with 4 wide receivers, making it even harder to defend offenses out here. Daniel, tell us about this pick about Zachary Patton.
Well, this is an interesting pick just based on their salary, because this puts them in the negative, so they're going to have to restructure some contracts. But, I mean, if they want to go offense, this is definitely a good pickup. His value is 84 already. So if they can restructure some contracts somewhere else, I mean, they're loaded on wide receivers.
Yes, they are. I was looking at their roster. My goodness. I mean, they got none of their receivers are in the 100 range, but they got a bunch of guys who are more than capable of going out there and getting the job done. So we'll see how he does with this offense, because he's known to be more of a West Coast style type offense. So we have to see if he opens it up a bit this season. Steven, what do you think about this picking up Zachary?
I'm glad you hit on kind of like the West Coast theme that Jacksonville sometimes will do. But I think it actually works out really well. I think the value that they have at wide receiver, it kind of lets things progress naturally. And I think that if Jacksonville is interested in this kind of look moving forward, that they have the room next season to really have, as you mentioned, Eddie, no receiver at 100, signing at 100 value yet. I think that this allows them to kind of grow into that look next season. And really kind of have that dynamic 4 wide receiver approach. So I really like the move. I think it's a great fit for Jacksonville. Again, I think that they're still working to establish a new identity as things have kind of changed for them. Bringing in Marcus Dunhill, quarterback last season, and trying to bring in Mike Allen as their GM. I think they're really trying to create and forge a new identity, and I think that they're on their way.
Gerald, speaking of pay cuts, word on the street is Mike All is going to take a significant pay cut to make room for this talent they just brought in. What do you think about this pick they just made?
Second leading receiver on Lexington Miners, had 4 touchdowns, averaging 13.1 a catch. I think it's a good fit. I think I would have liked to have seen a fullback here, but it's another weapon for Marcus Dunhill, and if he can just develop slowly as Hacker said, I think it's gonna be a good fit.
I would have liked to see a fullback also to complement those 3 offensive linemen they have. One of the few teams who have 3+ offensive linemen. But you can never go wrong with a 4th wide receiver either, because, I mean, either way it goes, you're going to have to defend the field, whether it be with that fullback spot helping out Jared Willis. Those offensive linemen they're going to have are going to be pulling and running traps and stuff all over the darn place, helping out in the screen game. My goodness, Jacksonville is suddenly becoming loaded on both the offensive and defensive side of the ball. And they're going to be a scary team to watch if Frank Gooden can get that team back to their prominent ways. But next up, we have San Diego on the clock with just over 2 minutes to go. They've made a splash already this weekend. Where do you guys see them going? I'll start with you, Steven.
I'm sorry, I totally spaced out there. As you were talking, I was trying to make some updates to my draft sheet here. If we're talking about San Diego, I think that, we could definitely be looking at quarterback if they want to go there. Again, they don't necessarily have to yet. But I think, the clock is ticking for them. I think everybody's waiting in anticipation. It's just a matter of, are they gonna go with that move now, or are they going to really hold out until their last pick? So I'm waiting to see who San Diego takes at quarterback. I think that's like the big domino that everybody's waiting to fall, as to where is the last quarterback going to go. So I think everybody's just trying to wait and hold out for San Diego to make that move here. And I wouldn't blame them if they wait, but I'd like to see it.
I'm thinking that pick goes now because I didn't even see them on the board with having another pick after this one. But the pick is in. Cam, do they pick up quarterback here, and which one did they pick up?
Thanks, Eddie. And also to note, with that 74th pick, Jacksonville is now done. They had an 81st pick. They forfeit that. Everybody moves up, and Louisiana gets the 88th pick after the trade they made earlier in the draft, left them short 1. So, with that being said, the 75th pick of the Season 18 SFL Rookie Draft, the San Diego Mavericks select Scar Patterson, quarterback. Las Vegas is on the clock with the 76th pick.
San Diego wasted the 4th round to secure their man, but they had the luxury to do so, and they could go in other areas. Daniel, I want to get your reaction. Why Scar Patterson above all the other contenders?
So Scar Patterson, he's not much of a talker, at least at first from what I thought, but having him on the show and his commitment and his joy for football in general, he helps out in real life with football. He plays football, he has a love for the sport, and I think that alone is enough to sell you on this man. And he's also, he's probably the best quarterback left of the bunch. This is what they need. He got weapons to go with. This is a great pickup for them.
Steven, I'm all but certain that you guys interviewed Scar Patterson. What can you tell us about this young man?
Yeah, had some interviews, had some conversations, and definitely listened into some of his interviews that he did, later on in the draft process, and really intrigued by the fact that he's a coach in real life and looks at the game in that method and in that in those means, and so we were definitely intrigued by that. And I think San Diego really has a piece here that's a student of the game, so to speak. I think he's somebody that wants to get involved in the SFL and is looking for a way to contribute. And I think that San Diego, again, going with the culture theme in their locker room that they built in this offseason, I think they found another really nice piece for their team.
Gerald, so Scar Patterson is finally off the board here in the 4th round. Could have gone earlier, but because of team needs around the SFL, they had the luxury of picking him in this 4th round. Tell us about the stats and how did he do this season in the minor leagues?
Well, he threw the most passes, 368, had 12 touchdowns, 66% completion percentage, which is pretty decent. But he has to cut down on the turnovers. He had 17 interceptions, second most in the league behind Kenny Slider. But if you're going to have a really good, solid quarterback behind Finley James, the offensive lineman there, you have great receivers to throw to, an Optimus Klein, Leon Hammer, Gunnar Lewis. I mean, Jalen Wells out of the backfield is amazing as well. So I think with his arm, I think it's going to fit. He's going to fit his style of play very well in San Diego. They made a home run on this pick.
I agree with the pick. And as you hinted on, coaching matters. And I believe in the direction that San Diego is headed in, as they have improved throughout last season, first by beating us, but you can see the steady climb that they've been making with some of the decisions they've made with their game plan. So it'd be interesting to see how Scar Patterson, he's coming in. You want to talk about a plethora of weapons to throw the ball to. My goodness, it's like he's out there playing eeny, meeny, miny, mo. And as long as his offensive line holds up, I think he'll do great at the next level. But it's going to be interesting watching their games next season and how the season for Scar Patterson unfolds. But moving forward, next up on the clock, we have the Las Vegas Fury. They got about 2 minutes left to get their pick in. Daniel, where do you think Vegas is looking with this pick?
So they have a few places they could go, but talking about how there's a limited number of people left in positions, there's only one tight end left, and they have one tight end. So they could make a play for a second tight end and completely take up the tight end area.
They could, as they drafted Scott Fowler earlier this weekend. Gerald, do you agree with that? Are they going tight end here?
I think I would rather have them go maybe a defensive tackle here, get a linebacker to go along with A.K. Jones and the two defensive linemen that they picked up earlier in this draft.
Vegas did not wait long. They're ready to go out and party and get on the strip. Cam, who did Vegas take with this pick?
Man, I'm jealous if they're going out on the strip tonight, man. That sounds fun. The 76th pick in the SFL Season 18 rookie draft, the Las Vegas Fury select Jackson Roberts, tight end, Mexico City. You're on the clock with the 77th pick.
Daniel, I like that pick. I like the player, and apparently by your reaction, you do too. Tell us about this guy, Jackson.
Great player. Like I said, last tight end, natural tight end in the draft. So I think this is a beautiful move. This is a great player. He's going to do great in Las Vegas, and now they set themselves up for Scott Johnson to really hammer home with the second tight end.
Yeah, Vegas, like I said earlier, they love those stretch plays, and I know that Jackson is ready to get his hands on some defensive ends and linebackers to help him get out there on the edges. Steven, what do you think about this pick that Vegas just made?
I think, adding another weapon to your offense is never a bad decision. Again, Vegas is one of those teams that really likes to be high octane. They like to turn the heat up when they're on offense. And having a second tight end really just gives you a little bit of flexibility. You have Scott Johnson, who at times Vegas had trouble getting going on the ground. So maybe this affords you the opportunity to get a couple of different formations in there, something to help you run the ball and get Scott Johnson going. And you can prolong some drives throughout the game where you're not relying on that gamble, right? You're not relying on the big play to get you out of some situations. So I think this makes a lot of sense for Vegas.
Gerald, so Jackson Roberts was the last tight end on the board, but he got drafted. How did he do this season in the minors?
I was trying to find it. I couldn't really see his stats, but I know with Jackson Roberts being the big guy, the 6'4", 255 tight end for Las Vegas, it's going to be more Scott Fowler, the receiving threat, I think. Jackson Roberts is going to be that blocking threat that Scott Johnson's going to need. But boy, Las Vegas hit the gold mine with the two tight ends here in the draft. But Jackson Roberts, good value at 59. Like I said, the size for the tight end is absolutely phenomenal. So great pick for Las Vegas.
I wholeheartedly agree with you as well. Another team with a 2 tight end set here. And wow, the league, just thinking about how it's growing with this with team expansion, it's just going to make it harder and harder on coaches to get these game plans together. And I can just imagine some of these final scores here. They're going to be shootouts or tightly contested 10-3 ball games. So we have to see how season 18 unfolds, especially toward the end of the season as players progress. But next up on the clock, we have Mexico City on the clock with about just under 3 minutes left to make yet another selection who've already hit a home run this weekend with some of their picks. Jerry, I'm going to come right back to you. Mexico City, I mean, their offense is already prolific. Their defense is flashy, so to speak, with some of the turnovers they had to make with, in my opinion, the best free safety in all the SFL, and Jeff Daggs, who somehow got snubbed from the Hall of Fame. He better to get in there next year. I'm going to call for an investigation. But what do you think they're going to do with this next pick they have?
I'd like to see them go the third corner here. I'd like to see them go maybe an Edwin Crow. I like Ernest McCray. I mean, he's 6'1", 195, but he has the speed. And playing for Tacoma has great speed, great awareness in the backfield. I think one of those two, if you want to go linebacker, defensive tackle, you could. But I think it's going to be cornerback right now.
Steven, you agree with that?
I actually think that would fit what Mexico City needs perfectly. I think that Mexico City in the past has really gotten a lot out of their corners, right? They don't typically invest like the top in terms of market, but they get a lot of return on that conservativeness. And I think that if Mexico City goes with the defensive back here, that you could watch out for that player throughout the rest of the season 18, and they might be in the defensive rookie player of the year also.
Mexico City picked up the number 1 and number 3 rated corners in the SFL last season. They're both still around, and I'm looking for Jared Brody to have a breakout season. But the pick is in. Cam, tell us, who did Mexico City pick up?
With the 77th pick in the SFL Season 18 rookie draft, the Mexico City Aztecs select Orain Darby, wide receiver. Sioux Falls is on the clock, 78th pick.
I feel bad for teams who don't have that fourth, that dime back on the field to help cover these teams who have 4 wide receiver sets. It's going to get ugly out here. I mean, oh my goodness. You better get pressed on the quarterback, or it's going to be a long day. If they have time to make that 4th read, they're going to be open most of the time. But Daniel, what do you think about this pick for Mexico City?
Well, funnily enough, they took both the Navigators' top 2 wide receivers this season. So Orain Darby was the deep threat, and I think this is going to be a natural fit. Like they got 2 Navigators. They know how to play with each other. This is the 4th wide receiver. You're going to have to worry about their salary a little bit because I do believe they still have 2 picks left in this draft, and they only have a 90 salary. But other than that, I mean, people are going to be afraid for them going long. This is going to be a deep threat game.
Well, I know one place they can start, and that's Mike Daggs. The guy got about 13 animations. He's already in the Hall of Fame. And what else does he have to prove? But, Steven, what do you think about this pickup?
I think it makes a dangerous ground team dangerous through the air. And, Mexico City, I look at their roster now, and it's almost scary. Matt Wilson coming in at a pretty hefty contract from what I'm used to seeing from him. So I think right out the gate, Mexico City has a really good opportunity to take some teams by surprise. Got a chance to really come out swinging in season 18, and taking 2 rookie wide receivers. I think they needed that help. I thought maybe they would only get 1. But for them to go with 2, I think that gives them a level of creativity that they can really exploit some things week in and week out. If they want to try to use the passing game to win a game in a given week, they can definitely go that route now, where in seasons past, they've been kind of limited. So it'll be very interesting to see how this Aztecs coaching staff handles all these weapons they have.
Talking to Ramos in the offseason, he was thrilled about trying some new things out in the playbook, things he did not feel comfortable calling before. But now that he has these additional weapons, he says it's brought back a vigor to him. He's excited about putting the playbook together. And in seasons past, he's putting, he's pretty much wrote out with the same playbook with minor changes to it. But now with these additional weapons he has, God bless you if you play this team week 1, because there's no telling what's coming. So good luck to whoever their week 1 opponent is. Gerald, what do you think about that pick?
We were expecting them to go another way, but the wide receiver pick, 639 yards receiving, 5 touchdowns. And I think the wide receiver picks that they did is going to take maybe a little of the onus off of Phoenix Jones getting those swing passes out of the backfield. They'll give them more of a deep threat, like you said. Orain was the deep threat of the 2. It's a great pick, but like you said, it just gives their offense just another level of creativity, as Acker said, just to throw the ball deep. Maybe not rely on Phoenix Jones too much, where defenses can key on him.
I mean, to get that kind of value this late in the draft is amazing. And just like that, with 2 minutes left on the clock, Sioux Falls' pick is already in. We aren't going to hold you up anymore, Cam. Who does Sioux Falls make with this pick?
With the 78th pick in the SFL Season 18 rookie draft, the Sioux Falls Sparrows select Ernest McCray Sr., cornerback. 79th pick, that's Fort Worth. You're on the clock.
So, Cam, real quick, how much money should he be sending you for getting him drafted? As you can see, he is elated. I'm glad to see him picked up. As you can see him celebrating with his family. And I'm sure Sioux Falls and some other teams might pick up the phone and says, hey, we got to get that guy. He's waiting around this long.
He don't have to send me nothing, Eddie. That's good enough for me right there.
Yeah, the smile says it all, I think, totally 100%.
Got it.
I got a funny feeling that pro subscription would be just fine. But Daniel, tell us about this guy.
I mean, just look at him right there. This is the guy that you want on a team, right? He's a character pick. He's going to be great. And, Sioux Falls, they're a little quiet now and again in general. But, I mean, for a character pick, this is one of the best you can get right now.
Excellent pick, man. I'm happy the guy. You can see all of his teeth. He's so happy. And I'm assuming that's his daughter by his side who's happy with him as well. Gerald, what do you know about this young man, Ernest?
33 tackles, had 8 pass deflections. I think it was 5th or 6th, tied for 5th or 6th in the league. Like you said, a great guy. You can just tell by his reaction to getting picked. I think Sioux Falls hit a steal here. And boy, you have someone sitting in the draft room that long, they're going to come out with the point to prove. And I think Ernest McCray Sr. is going to be one of the better cornerbacks that kind of went under the radar in this draft, but I think he's going to be a great pick. It's a great pick for Sioux Falls.
Well, you can tell by his excitement, you think he's going to be around for a while. Stephen, you know anything about this young man?
Yeah. Ernest and I, again, I talked to Ernest for about an hour during some of the interview process, and it really impressed me. Again, his passion, just wanting to be picked up, wanting to be a part of the league. Really love that spirit that's infectious. That's the kind of stuff that, Eddie, as you know, like you said, the grind never stops. And so you need people with the motivation, a passion, and a certain vigor for life. And Ernest McCray definitely had all of that when I talked to him. Definitely glad to see that he's going to Sioux Falls, somewhere that can use that kind of a locker room presence. And I wish Ernest the best in his SFL career.
I totally agree with you, and I think he's gonna be a good dude. And like I say, you could tell by his excitement, man. I think he's gonna be around for a while, so that's a big pickup for Sioux Falls. But next up on the clock, we're right back to you, Stephen. Well, I'm not gonna bother interviewing you because you were there multitasking. Fort Worth is on the clock. Daniel, what do you foresee Fort Worth going with this pick?
So they went linebacker last time. I'm not going to say linebacker again. I'm going to do something spicy. I think they're going to take a fourth wide receiver, maybe turn him into a tight end. But I think we're getting some spice now with four wide receivers. I like to see it. Reno, he's a gunslinger. This is the kind of thing he likes. This is what he hopes at least comes up through.
I happen to agree with that assessment, but I'm not going to share why. But yeah, I'm with you on that. Gerald, what do you see Fort Worth going with this pick?
I can see them doing the exact same thing. A wide receiver to a tight end. You have the tallest, I think, one of the tallest wide receivers in the draft left, Dougie Day, at 6'4", 210 would be a great target to go along with Robert Gary Jr. either as the 4 or a tight end. Maybe you go defensive line with a linebacker. I would go more on the offensive side of the ball with the wide receiver being in the position or as a tight end.
If Fort Worth were to pick up Dougie Day, I would hope and pray that Louisiana's on that schedule because there would be a matchup that would be must-see TV. So if they do go wide receiver, I don't quite think it'd be that route, but you never know. Perhaps just hearing that his value just went up and he's going to refuse to take a pay cut should he choose to sign with where I think he's going.
I don't want to hear from Dante Grimm. If we pick Dougie Day, I think we would never hear the end of it from Dante Grimm, and that's the last thing I want is to hear from the Louisiana social media team or social media department. Doug Day, a great guy, great community member, but not that he has to go to Louisiana. He hasn't indicated that to me at all, but I would say we're not necessarily looking that direction here. Doug can find his way, and again, I have no doubts that he will. It's just that's not the direction that we're looking to go. But again, all love to Doug, 100%.
All love to Doug as there is about 1 minute left on the clock for Fort Worth to make their pick. I mean, you guys already stolen away Mike Twinscrew, and your offense was already tough to defend with 2 tight ends and 2 wide receivers. So picking up Mike Twinscrew is going to help you guys out big time because as it gives you more flexibility in what to do with that passing game as well as running out, stretching defenses out wide and running the ball up the middle and things of that nature. So I look for big things for Fort Worth this season as they look to return to prominence as they dominated the regular season just a couple of seasons ago. I believe that was season 15. And so they're looking to get 16, excuse me. They're looking to get back to those winning ways. And I look forward to big things from Fort Worth. So I see them potentially picking up maybe a 4th wide receiver, perhaps a defensive tackle converted from the linebacker spot. Maybe a 3rd linebacker in general. I mean, they got a number of different ways they can go here. Maybe they pick up a 6th defensive back to help defend all these receivers out here. So there's a number of ways that they can go with this pick. And it's going to be interesting as they have pretty much any avenue at their disposal to go with. The time is up. And sure enough, right on cue, the pick is in. Cam, what did Fort Worth go with this pick?
With the 79th pick in the SFL Season 18 rookie draft, the Fort Worth Toros select Charlie Baker, wide receiver. 80th pick, that's you, DC. You're on the clock.
I personally like Charlie Baker, but Daniel, tell me, why do you like this pick?
Well, once again, we're getting into the 4th wide receiver. This is a good pickup. Charlie is very active in chat, very active in general as well. Also, part of the Blackwell family of people that they've had brought in the past. So this is a very good community pick.
I agree with that as well. Very active. That's one of the things I primarily look for. What can you do to help my team off the field, as well as how active are you in chat during game days? Those are my 2 priorities. I could care less what you do on the field. I mean, to me, that's just a bonus. I'm looking for high character guys, and Fort Worth hit a home run with that one because he is also a high value. I mean, a high character guy. But Steven, tell us why you drafted this young man.
Really had a lot of conversations going into this offseason, ones that we didn't get a chance to do too much last season. So this season, had Jason Williams, our head coach, really involved in helping us construct what our personnel groupings would look like. And it was his preference that we start looking at some additional wide receivers. And so that was the key focus of our staff this offseason, was going out and trying to find some extra weapons. Robert did a great job bringing in Mike Twinscrew to help us out. And in that process, uncovered that we had some other relationships, with some other prospects. And so we wanted to make sure that we went out and got those prospects and onto our team. And so Johnny Reno, definitely somebody we're extremely excited to have on our team. But, a weapon like Charlie Baker coming over from Madison and getting into our fourth wide receiver spot just gives us an element that we've never had with Fort Worth. We've always been a 2 wide receiver, 2 tight end team. So we're really excited to get not only a third, but a fourth wide receiver into our offense and to see where that takes us going into season 18.
As I said, it opens up the entire playbook and puts it all at your disposal, man. So no longer is that offense limited to certain strengths and weaknesses of what you guys did in the past. And I look forward to see how you plan on exposing those teams versus those type of offensive sets. Gerald, what do you think about this pick? How did he do in the minors?
Second leading receiver for the Madison Lynx, 410 yards, 3 touchdowns, 10.5 yards a carry. But man, looking at the offense of Fort Worth and all these teams that have 4 wide receivers, man, you better make sure your secondary is tight, because man, when you're playing against a Stephen Hacker, Mike Twinscrew, Robert Garrett Jr., and then you throw Charlie Baker in the mix along with Cade Stevens. You have Aaron Alexander coming out of the backfield along with Jason Williams. Man, oh day. Johnny Reno's got to be just happy as a clam right now. But it's a great pickup for Fort Worth. Charlie Baker coming in as the 9th rated wide receiver. So with good value, I think it's a great pick for Fort Worth, and Packers should be happy with their selection.
To get the 9th rated receiver in terms of value this late in the draft has to be what's considered as a home run for Fort Worth. And Stephen Hacker's showing his poker face right now, but I'm sure he is pleased that this player fell to him. And next up on the clock, we have the DC Dragons looking to make their next selection in this draft to shore up their roster. Daniel, where do you think DC may go with this pick? They've been all over the board with their selection in terms of positions. Where do you think they're going here?
Well, they could follow suit with wide receiver again, but I think they're probably going to get the secondary. The highest rated free safety is still on the market. So this might be a good pickup and steal right here if they can get that person.
So you're going free safety, and it's almost a crime that the top rated free safety is still on the board and available to be picked up this late. Gerald, are you in agreement with that?
I agree, but it could be strong safety because the number 1 rated strong safety is Frankie Custer from Salt Lake's on the board. So you have the number one free safety and strong safety just waiting there for you to pick up. I think you need to go that route. I mean, you've spent a lot of picks on the defensive side of the ball. I mean, you picked up Kyle Storm at the offensive side. You may go the 4th wide receiver, but how at this stage of the draft, how can you let a number 1 rated safety, free or strong, go past the wayside? I think that's where they need to go.
I got some inside information from a source who I cannot reveal, who told me at some point during this draft, they stole our dude. How could they? Steven, where do you think DC's going with this pick?
I think a top-rated safety and a 2 top-rated safeties at either position, it's hard to look away from that. Jerry DeGond, one of the top free safeties out there, still waiting to hear his name called, and it's tough sometimes to wonder why, but here we are. DC has an opportunity; they can go after that 6th defensive back if they want. There's also an opportunity that they go wide receiver here with wide receiver value kind of trickling into this day 3 of the draft. DC could go that way too if they wanted.
I'm not a part of that DC war room, but I love Jerry DeGon as a player. I see him in chat not necessarily as much as others, but I do see him out there, and I think to get that kind of value this late in the draft, not knowing his personality, just personality excluded, and what he can do for the team off the field excluded, I think would be a home run, considering they can get him this late in the draft. Perhaps they're talking to him right now, I'm not sure, but the pick is in. So, Cam, with the 80th pick, who did DC pick up?
With the 80th pick in the SFL's Season 18 rookie draft, the DC Dragons select Ty Woodson, cornerback. There are 8 picks left. 81st, Las Vegas. You're on the clock.
So Ty Woodson is now off the board, selected by the DC Dragons. Daniel, what do you think about this pick getting another cornerback on this roster?
It's a pretty good pick, a 67 value, so it's not too less of a value for a strong safety. I believe he was 68, was the first strong safety. I still think I would have went maybe one of the first free safety or first strong safety. That is a good pick as well, but you can't take it. His fourth cornerback there. Everybody else is getting 4 wide receivers. You're going to need to be able to guard them somehow.
Well, perhaps they're looking at the remaining cap space they have, which is why they didn't choose someone higher up, or someone who had more value. They're thinking about their roster and, potential pay cuts they would have to, ask people to make room to pick up some of these more high value guys. So it's just another reason to show you why, just because you have lower value than the man or woman in front of you, do not exclude that, because your name can always be called. And, players should not just wait on owners and GMs to reach out. You guys should be reaching out to them if you want to get drafted, express your interest. And not to get off topic, but I remember once a player reached out to us a couple of seasons ago, and unfortunately we didn't have the room for him, but he had an entire history about the Arizona Scorpions of why they would be a good fit for us, and said, hey, you have a position of need here. I'm available. This is all about me. And he had stats and showed why he would, make a good impression for us and be a good fit for us on the field wise. So things like that, I didn't have the room for him, but I passed his name along to others who may, and the guy got drafted. So thank goodness for him. But sometimes it's little things like that that'll help you get drafted. But Steven, what do you think about that pick?
I think for DC, I think they always go with, character. They look for that when they consider how they're building their team. So I think that's number one, Ty Woodson, perfect name for a defensive back. Really fits,
about it.
Really fits what they're going for, I think, and good size, 6'2", 205. Definitely somebody, again, that can fit right in with some time and coaching, which DC has, and let that player develop. And so great opportunity for Ty Woodson.
We are going to move on to the Vegas Fury. They are next up on the clock. They have just under 3 minutes left to make their selection. Daniel, they've been all over the map as well in terms of positions. Where do you see them going with this next pick?
Well, they still have an open defensive tackle. So they might be going that route, get a linebacker, go over there. They could also go fourth wide receiver, but they don't really have the space or salary. They only have 67 remaining. So you got to look at that now as a factor going into this pick. So I'm maybe leaning defensive tackle.
Well, they could get a fourth wide receiver. That would require someone who name rhymes with Jax Hackman or something like that to take a pay cut. So I'm not sure if he's willing to do that. So we'll have to wait and see how that turns out. Steven, what do you think? What do you think Vegas is going to go with this pick?
Vegas this is their last pick. So looking through everything, I see 6 defensive backs. I see only 3 defensive linemen. So they could be trying to call up those the linebackers right now and trying to find that last spot on the defensive line that they have available. If it's not defensive line, I just don't know where you go. I don't think with 2 tight ends you have room for a 5th wide receiver. I'm not questioning if they go that way. It's just, to me, it doesn't make sense that you would have all of that firepower when you have a need at defensive tackle. So I think their preference is going to be to try to find a linebacker willing to make the move and fill that spot at defensive tackle. If not, I feel like the only place you can go is wide receiver.
Yeah, I'm kind of agreeing with you there in terms of needs. But what do you think, Gerald?
I think the defensive tackle is the way to go. You have 4 or 5 linebackers that are available. All of them have decent size. You have Robinson at 260, Strongbow at 251, Alvarado at 250, Adams at 244. The smallest one is Dabson Bugner from Tacoma at 630. All of them underneath their cap number. Man, Sean Robinson, to me, would be the fit here because he had 38 tackles, but he also had 3 tackles for loss, 2 pass deflections, and 2 interceptions. I like to see them go that route. If I don't think they can go fourth wide out, uh, but like Steven said, it's got to be one of those 2 positions. I'll lean toward defensive tackle as well.
Hmm. I mean, I think we're all on the same page here. There's about 10 seconds left for them to get that selection in. And I think that's the obvious choice as well. I mean, you never know. There's teams like Florida out there who like to surprise people with their selection. So we'll see what they do here. I mean, I don't know. There's a couple different ways they could go, but like you said, the position groupings are starting to dwindle here. And as we close out this draft, so we'll see what they do here. The clock has hit 0. I'm assuming that Kim's just knocking out all the particulars, and we'll find out in a moment here where they go. But just looking at their defensive line, wow, they are really going to miss Red Sawyer as they have some development to do with those younger players over there. They did get, some guys over here in free agency in terms of linebackers to help them, in the middle. But that defensive line is going to have some progression to do to get going, as they have 2 rookies in A.K. Jones as well. So we'll see how it works out for them this season. But if they can get a second half lead and make teams one-dimensional, which they're totally capable of doing with this offense, which is where a lot of the money for this in their cap was spent, I think they'll be okay. Just looking at Doug Braden, who was, I think he made the Pro Bowl as a returner a couple of seasons ago. So you got John Blades out there who's paid handsomely. You got Scott Johnson, finesse back, who's, trying to get back to his season 16 numbers. I think they'll be okay if they can, as long as they can get the offense going. They also have a Pro Bowl, future Hall of Fame safety, and Max Jackson if he's in there already. So the sky's the limit for this team if they can just chew up these last couple of pieces here with some areas of need, and I think they'll be okay. They did lose Tiberius Bovine to free agency. He went to London. I wonder if he's going to be coaching over there. I'm not sure, but we'll have to just wait and see. But they like I said, they filled both tight end spots. So it'll be interesting to see what they do here. They have a couple of different ways to go, but just not enough, a lot of pieces to work with. So
historically, Eddie. Yeah, historically, Eddie, Las Vegas is one of those teams, again, they kind of gamble both offensively and defensively. You could see them easily trying to go after these spots on the outside, these speed positions, right? Because that's typically how they win ball games. They like to use the speed on the outside to run around, create a lot of havoc, create, mess, and get in the running lane, the passing lanes. And that's the way that Vegas really likes to operate. So, going speed here, whether a defensive back or a wide receiver, really makes a lot of sense for the kind of culture that Vegas has. But I think that with the exodus there at the D line too, Eddie, you gotta help those speedy players, and you gotta have somebody there in the middle to try to help generate some pressure and really get things get the pocket collapsing on quarterbacks, so that you force teams into your bread and butter, which is the speed of your defense.
I totally agree with you, and it's going to be interesting to see if they change their defensive philosophy since Rhett and Slynn have departed, as you stated. So we'll just have to wait and see. But they're looking at their offense. They have more, I think, 7-step drops in their playbook than even Vancouver does. So they're more than capable of putting points on the board.
Yeah. But going back to Steven's point about the defensive front, you need a strong defensive front, because look at the running backs you have in this division: DJ Moses, Bailey Shaughnessy, Scott Johnson, and G.P. Wells. You need to have a big defensive line to maybe plug up some of those holes so those guys they don't have run holes to run through. So I think defensive tackle here has got to be the way to go for Las Vegas.
I totally agree with you. They can, if they can find a way to stay in games until mid-season when those players progress, I think they'll be just fine. But the pick is finally in. Cam, who did Vegas pick up with this pick?
With the 81st pick in the SFL Season 18 rookie draft, the Las Vegas Furies select Dabson Bugnut, linebacker. 82nd pick is Mexico City. You're on the clock.
So they pick up a fourth linebacker. I guess we have to wait and see if they decide to transition him to defensive tackle. But Daniel, what can you tell us about this pick of Dabson?
Well, I mean, it's the only remaining hole that they needed to be filled. Big guy. If he transitions to defensive tackle, it'll be a good transition. I think he'll do wonders there. So I think this is a good overall pick to what they needed at this point in the draft.
Jerry, you agree with that assessment that Daniel just made?
I agree. I mean, he can go to the defensive tackle spot, or they can actually just like maybe run it just a 3-4 and have the four linebackers there with Zolotov, Jury, and Sirius coming in. So it's a tweener pick. You can put them either way, and it's going to work out for their defense. So it was a great pick for them. The highest rated linebacker left on the board from Tacoma, 6'1", 230. I think if they're going to keep him a linebacker, keep him at that size and speed. I think if you do the 3-4, he might be maybe like an outside linebacker, maybe even having a rusher. So I think it's a good pick for Las Vegas.
That's a great point you just made, because they have one defensive tackle. I guess he's going to play as a nose, and they do decide to play the 3-4. They have the personnel for it. They have a defensive tackle, two defensive ends, and four linebackers. So we saw Carolina try that a season ago. It worked out pretty well for them. And, I mean, perhaps they keep him at that linebacker spot and play the 3-4. What do you think about that, Steven?
I think schematically it makes a lot of sense. If you're going to make that shift towards the 3-4 defense, then you don't want to have your fourth linebacker be a low-value player. So, it makes a lot of sense that that's something you want to try to put into your repertoire, that you go out and you find those players to fill that spot. So makes a lot of sense to me, as a what I like to think of as a defensive-minded coach. That's definitely something that makes me, feel creative. Want to, get motivated to see what some of these teams are doing with the 3-4, because it's not something that we entertain a whole lot of all the time. But it's fun to see new changes and elements in the game. And so it's always fun to see these teams go after a fourth linebacker to see how they can maybe crack something new in the SFL to bring out a new look in terms of scheme and game plan.
We've seen teams like Sioux Falls in Florida employ a 3-4 scheme. It'd be interesting to see how Vegas does it with them in my division. I'll be keeping a close eye on them with how that plans out for them. But next up on the clock, once again, we have Mexico City looking to make another pick, trying to solidify this roster. Daniel, can you tell us what you think Mexico City might be doing here?
Well, they still only have two corners. So I would think that maybe a cornerback would be the pick here. They could also maybe go defensive tackle or take a fourth linebacker, but I think they should go with their corners now. Get that third corner needed, and then you can fill out whatever you need at the last pick.
Gerard Brody was one of my favorite corners to watch last season. Gerald, do you share his opinion about the cornerback position for Mexico City?
I do believe so. I'd like to see maybe Dedrick Law here, 6'4", 215, had a touchdown in the minor league, had 3 interceptions. So I think that's where I think it's going to be a defensive back.
Mexico City must have landed their guy or gal because their pick is already in. They wasted no time getting it. Cam, where did Mexico City go with this pick?
With the 82nd pick in the SFL Season 18 rookie draft, the Mexico City Aztecs select Liam Ryan, cornerback. Sioux Falls back on the clock with the 83rd pick.
So, Daniel, they go corner, get that third cornerback to help defend all these wide receivers flying all over the place. What can you tell us about Liam?
Well, Liam can actually play really good at the third slot. I think this is a good pickup for him. He's not salary is going to be an issue, but I think this is a good pickup all the same. I think they were in salary troubles regardless going into their last pick. So take who you can. Liam Ryan, perfect in that third spot. I think he will actually grow and be a good player in this league.
Interesting assessment. What do you think about that, Steven? You agree with him?
I have no issue with anything that Daniel just said. The only thing that stands out to me is for a corner, within at least the structure how I like to do things, 5'10", 5'11", a little small. Don't want to say you can't make my team at 5'10", 5'11", but it's something that we look at, something we consider. We prefer our corners to be a little taller, all across the board. So that's the one thing that maybe I could find to try to poke a hole in his game would be his size. But outside of that, good speed, good agility, I think ready to come in and be a part of this Aztecs culture and team. And so really good pickup here late in the draft for Mexico City.
With that size and value, I anticipate him being a slot corner was going to help in that regard. But Gerald, what do you think about this pick they just made?
I agree with both Daniel and Steven there. A little short for my liking at 5'11", 200 pounds, but it has great value at 64.35. I personally like this would have my cornerbacks be a little taller, but like I said, that's the only like you said, that's the only really downfall is his 5'11". But hey, if he's 5'11", he can play like he's 6'4", albeit. So I think he's got the talent to do so. It's a great pick for Mexico State. It might not hurt them too much cap wise because it's not the 70s ones or the 72s you can get, but it's a good fill.
Gerald, Mexico City, pulled off a heartbreaker versus you guys in the playoffs. Do you guys play them this season?
I'm not sure. I'm trying to remember the schedule. I hope not, 'cause that was a heartbreaker. But
we don't play you guys. It's not in the divisional.
Division.
Yeah, no.
So we're probably not going to see them. But yeah, they're a tough team. I mean, just look at the return that they have. They really haven't made any really big switches. Matt Wilson's Hall of Fame quarterback, Phoenix Jones. I mean, when you have Ray Bentley as your fullback, that just does enough. And you have some great linebackers in Dexter Jackson, Ronnie Watts, and then you pick up all the linebackers that they picked up. The linebacker they picked up today, the Meerkats. They're going to be a phenomenal team. And Steven, good luck to you, buddy, because you got to play them.
Well, next up on the clock is Sioux Falls, who has about 2 minutes remaining to make their selection. They've been all over the map today as well with their selections. I'm going to go back to you, Daniel. Where do you see Sioux Falls? And never mind, Daniel, because guess what? The pick is in. They're wasting no time. Cam,
That's fine with me.
who's moving to Sioux Falls?
With the 83rd pick in the SFL Season 18 rookie draft, the Sioux Falls Sparrows select Jason Strongbow, outside linebacker. Fort Worth is on the clock with the 84th pick.
I'm going to come back to you, Daniel, because I thought Strongbow would been off the board by now. But Sioux Falls, I used to call them Linebacker University because I think they've always had 3 of them for a long time. They add another one to the fold. What do you think about this pick?
So for me personally, I was leaning towards Stronghold and Ymbambe. Ymbambe's still on the board too, which is surprising to me. Both of them are good players. They should have had a home by now, in my opinion. But whoever gets Ymbambe is going to get a steal as well. This is a steal. This is a good pickup for Sioux Falls, and that was their only hole that they needed to fill was a linebacker hole.
Yeah, I mean, Linebacker University is holding true once again. But Steven, what do you think about this pick they just made?
I think that it's a great job. The linebacker position is becoming very, very scarce as we're getting close to wrapping up this draft. Only a couple picks left, and so if you had a need for that kind of body on your roster, then you need to go out and get them now. And Sioux Falls went out and found Jason Strongbow, who plays very well in the couple of games that I was able to catch him in. And I think, again, for Sioux Falls, they need some good character, locker room value players. And if they can grow and manage some of these personalities, I think that a linebacker like Jason Strongbow can definitely help them out. 6'2", 251, so has the frame that you can use in the SFL to really grow with and create some havoc there for your defense.
251 for a guy who's 6'2" as a linebacker is pretty darn hefty. He should have no problem even playing on the interior of the linebacking course. So wherever he goes, he'll be just fine. But what do you think about that pick they just made, Gerald?
I sort of agree with Daniel. There isn't a whole lot of stats or body of work for Jason Strongbow. 4 games he played, he had 4 pass deflections, 15 tackles. Like he said, I would have gone here with Mbambe Adams here with 47 tackles and a sack, 4 tackles for loss, 6 pass deflections and an interception. It's the same amount of value. You're getting basically the same size. One 6'2", 251. The other 6'2", 244. Either way, I mean, it's basically you're getting the same stature player. I personally would have gone Mbambe, but Jason Strongbow, inside linebacker from Boise, I think is just as good of a pick as well.
The one counter I will have to say about that is I won't necessarily stats always matter because it also depends on how those coaches are using those guys too. That impacts the production they're able to put up. So there's a lot that goes into that doesn't get talked about for whatever reason enough, in my opinion. But next up on the clock, we got Fort Worth, and Steven doing a good job with his poker face once again. We don't have a clue which way they're going. Daniel, you seem to have a pretty good hand in the league and what's going on. What do you think Steven is doing with this pick?
I've been pretty good with a few of the guesses now for Fort Worth. I take Mbambe if you got the chance. I think this is the pick that you take it. You put him in defensive tackle if you want. You could have a 4th linebacker. This would be the pick. I think you take Mbambe.
I saw a slight smirk from Stephen Hacker when you made that comment. So we'll see if you're right about that. Gerald, what say you? I know you're high on this guy as well.
I totally agree. Yeah, but you can put his hand on the dirt as a defensive tackle, move him there. You can run the 3-4, put him in the linebacker, match him up with Vincent Browning and Golden Dino that you just picked up earlier in the draft. I think the linebacker, Mbambe Adams, I think is the pick to go to right now.
I hope you guys are this friendly in about a minute.
I can tell that Gerald is old school. He said he can put his hand in the dirt. Man, I haven't heard that in a long time, man. So, man, I miss playing football. If I could just turn back time, I'd play it all over again. But
got to relive the Eddie Gage greatest hits again.
Those days are over, man. I wish.
Well, I think we all, for the most part, we all kind of miss it. I love this, man. Eddie, to be honest, I love this. This is for me is great. I don't have to take any contact anymore. I get to use my brain all the time. For me, this is it. I feel like I've made it in terms of a football career. This is, for me, is the pinnacle.
Well, I've only experienced one concussion that I know of, And I remember the coach told me, son, you'll be fine. Just when we go to the locker room, we get you some aspirin and it'll be no big deal. But back then, people didn't realize the severity of it. And but yeah, sure enough, man, my bell was rung big time by a big tight end. Oh my God, that dude was huge, man. I'm like, there's no way this guy's a tight end. But I digress. We're moving on. We got Fort Worth on the clock. I don't know what they're gonna do, but I did see, like I said, a smallest smirk from the face of Stephen Hacker. We're gonna see if you were right here in a moment, Daniel and Gerald. I'm gonna guess that guy as well. The pick is in. Cam, take it away.
With the 84th pick in the SFL Season 18 rookie draft, the Fort Worth Toros select Phil Diablo. Man, the panel, nothing from the panel.
Because we knew that was nothing. Yeah,
right. we knew that was nothing.
Mbambe Adams, linebacker. Congrats, Mbambe. 85th pick, DC. You're on the clock.
Daniel, you were right about this pick, man. Take it away.
Well, man, he's related to King Rashid, so you know he's a great community guy first and foremost. So this is a steal. I'm not going to say anything about it. This is a steal. I feel like we got a wavelength, Hacker. I feel your picks coming, so you're doing a great job in my eyes.
We'll take it because I've been looking at you, Daniel. I appreciate all the work that you've been doing this off season. I know you've been working hard with fights and insights. So definitely appreciate that. It was unfortunate circumstances that we talked to King Rashid and Mbambe, but nonetheless, we found some good characters within the SFL that we're extremely proud that they're a part of our community. And we feel really blessed that Yambambe fell all the way this far to us. And so for them to be on our for Yambambe to be on our team, we're ecstatic to have that happen for us.
Gerald, you know, I can't help but notice that Fort Worth is getting a lot of high quality guys in terms of character, and it's been an obvious focal point of them in the draft because I agree with all of the picks they made in terms of character. They're not looking just value, and you got to love and appreciate that.
Oh, definitely. If you have a great locker room, it makes the season so much better. And it's when you have character guys that are just fun to chat with, and fun to like interact with. It makes it so much better. We have the same kind of vibe we have in Vancouver with our locker room. Sometimes it's not all about getting the highest rated player or getting the third highest player. If you have a guy that can fit in your system, that'll be willing to take a cut in their salary or get rid of an animation or two to better the team. That's the kind of team that wins football games. I mean, it's just
Preach.
the way it's just the way it is. It's you can have an all-star team, but if they don't play, if they don't gel well, what do you got? I liken it to like the Yankees when they were over the salary cap. Great, they had the best all-star team on their position players, but they never won. You get that continuity, you get that focus in your locker room, and to me, that's more important in any team sport than having the highest paid player or whatever.
Doug Days in the chat really upset he hasn't been picked yet, and he may go undrafted. I think he'll be okay, Doug. But Steven, tell us about this pick, young man.
Yeah, again, Yambambe, we're extremely happy that they're a part of our that Yambambe made it to our team. But I think I wanted to say thank you guys because that is definitely character picks matter to us, and value plays a part in all of this. But at the end of the day, what I'd like to tell people is that you can't always have the spotlight on you. You just have to be ready. You have to put in all the work. You have to be ready for when that spotlight shines on you. You have to be ready for that moment, and that's something at Fort Worth that we really try to preach and let people know, hey, not every day you're going to be the rock star. You may be a rock star. We love you like a rock star, but that spotlight of the SFL may not always be focused on you, and you kind of have to wait your turn. And the best way that you can pass time in that process is by cheering on your friends and the community on the way. And that way, when the spotlight does come to you, have even more fans, people cheering for you. So I think Yambambe, King Rashid definitely displayed that trait and that characteristic. So great community members, excited to have them be a part of the SFL.
Really quick, Andy just said in the chat he'd rather win with people with family than lose to people that he hates. I just messed that up, but you get the gist of it. DC's pick is in. Cam, who do they take with this next selection?
That was rough, Eddie. Thankfully, you're not hosting.
It was.
With the 85th pick in the SFL Season 18 rookie draft, the DC Dragons select Gus Scott, wide receiver. Mexico City's on the clock with the 86th pick.
Mexico City's up on the clock next. Daniel, what can you tell us about Gus Scott?
So I think this is a fill for DC because they're pretty stacked with the team itself. So getting this will be their sixth receiver because they got two tight ends already as well. Gus Scott, I think this is a good spot for him to progress through the season. Maybe this is a two-way contract kind of thing. But I think this is a good stepping stone for him to start off, and he'll progress and get a taste of the pros, and hopefully he does well, and I hope for the best for him.
Moves like these are why I like the two, keeping their contract going with the minor leagues with the two-way player deals. So good thing. That was a good thing by the league to pass that along. Gerald, what can you tell us about Gus Scott's production in the minor leagues?
Tied with Israel Adams for the most catches with 70. Not a lot of yards per catch. He is at 8.5, but it was targeted the most at 103 at 594 yards, 2 touchdowns. So the touchdown to receptions might not be what you're looking for, but I think he's going to be a solid overall fourth receiver for them. Maybe he'll get you that one touchdown, or he's going to be probably that guy that's going to get that important first down for you. and it's going to be, okay, one catch for 9 yards. And you're going to think that's nothing big. That one catch got the first down, which kept the drive alive for you to win. So that's I think with that value, I think in his size, 6'3", 210, out of Ottawa, I think it's a great pick for DC.
I don't care if it's 8, 9, point yards per carry. I mean, that to me, that's production. When I'm watching the games live and I see the chains move, I'm just as happy as it was if it's a 20-yard completion. Trust me when I say. So it sounds like he was playing the West Coast offense. DC tends to have a West Coast offense. If you don't include that Week 1 game versus Vancouver, where they were throwing a ball downfield 30 yards a clip. But I'm going to move this train along here because Mexico City's up on the clock and they got 3 minutes left to make their pick. Steven, where do you think they're going with this pick? It's their second to last one.
It's going to have to be, I think the best value available for them would be to find a defensive tackle. We've been kind of calling for that the last couple of picks. Now they've shored up that defensive backfield. Really, they've got their linebacker, they've got their defensive ends. They do have Dan Tritz, a great rookie showing a couple of seasons ago, and really a dominant force in the middle, but could use a little help, I think. And with your cap available, I think that move makes a lot of sense. You don't have to cut and do a whole lot to get there cap wise. I'm not sure. I think we're through all the kickers and punters, but if Mexico City again wants to get a little creative, use things to their advantage, Mexico City is definitely the kind of team that could benefit from a punter due to how well Ramos is able to scheme things on offense and defense.
Speaking of special teams, Cole Varner, I'm not sure, but my goodness, he is the highest paid kicker in the SFL coming into next season. Looking at if this Excel spreadsheet is correct.
He got a wide receiver contracted kicker. He got paid.
You better hit him from the parking lot with that kind of salary. Jared, where do you think they're going with this pick?
Wow, I agree with the linebacker maybe moving to defensive tackle. I mean, the two linebackers that are available, Matthew Alvarado and Sean Robinson, relatively the same, 6'2", 260. The other one's 6 foot 250. They're both the same value. You might want to go that route, but if you're going to go the 3-3 and you're going to play more defensive backs, you still have that strong safety out there and Frankie Custer out there, the number 1, and then you still have Jerry DeGon, number 1 free safety, but you have free safeties. Maybe you move him to strong safety, but I think the move definitely here is to go linebacker.
The chat is blowing up with the win-lose situation here, man. I hope
Deputy Commissioner won that comment, or though if you read the Deputy Commissioner's comment, that was fantastic. Rather lose with pizza than win with salad. That's great.
I totally agree with you. My wife is a big salad woman, and she'll eat a salad all day, every day. But me, I'm a meat eater, man. I gotta have it. I'm sorry.
Carnivorous.
What do you think, Mexico City? And apologies, this is actually their last pick of the night. What do you think they're going with it?
So funny enough, I think Robson left the server, so there's only one linebacker left. So if there's one linebacker left, this is the time to take it.
Yeah. You may not have another option, right?
Yeah.
I didn't know that Robinson left the server. If he did, then you're right. This would be Alvarado's chance right here.
You're exactly right. The time is up on Mexico City. I'm assuming the clock I'm assuming the pick has been submitted and is working out all the particulars. But sure enough, the pick is in. Cam, this is Mexico City's last pick. Who did they choose?
With the 86th pick in the SFL Season 18 rookie draft, the Mexico City Aztecs select TT Crystal, wide receiver. Fort Worth is on the clock with the 87th pick.
Daniel, I don't know a lot about TT Crystal, but the name sticks me for some reason. I'm not quite sure why. Tell us about this player.
Well, TT Crystal had a pretty good season overall. Plus, the name is just great, right? TT Crystal.
Yeah.
The name is so good. But this is their 5th wide receiver. So I'm wondering if they couldn't get a hold to the linebacker, and they just picked a 5th wide receiver for a 2-way contract.
We'll see. I'm not sure because, like I said, I was talking to Ramos, and he was kind of giddy looking at all the options he could do with various weapons that he's never had before. So I don't know. It could be by design. Who knows? We have to wait and see. I'll talk to him at some point and find out, hopefully. But Jared, what do you think about this picking up a fifth wide receiver?
That's a shock. That's a shock. But boy, if you can use him, find a way in that system, it's just another weapon for Matt Wilson. I mean, if you're going to go through what he did, I'm trying to find his stats here. For Boise, 29 catches, 1 touchdown, 9.7 yards a catch. It's just like I said, it's going to be another weapon for Matt Wilson. It's definitely a shock pick, I think. I don't think any of us thought he was going to go wide receiver here, like you said, fifth one. Kind of a head scratcher in my eyes.
Well, perhaps as you guys were alluding to, that linebacker did not want to play defensive tackle and chooses to return to the minor leagues for yet another season and build some value and make himself more marketable with the next draft. Who knows? We have to wait and see. Steven, what do you think about this pick from Mexico City?
Yeah, I read over in the Twitch chat right now, as TT Crystal drafted live makes his presence known in the chat, says, I'm so hyped to be playing for Ramos here. And I know Ramos is excited to have you there. As you've heard Eddie allude to, he's trying to make some schematic adjustments and has really got a new passion for trying to make some things happen on his offense. And so I think that makes the rest of us coaches and owners in the league a little worried because of how great Ramos is known to be in terms of his offense and defensive game plans. So TT Crystal, I think your owner, the owner of your team, the Mexico City Aztecs, Ramos Lynn, is extremely happy to have you a part of his team as well. And I love the pick. I think anytime a team finds that passion and that opportunity to reinvent themselves, I think it's a great feeling. And so I'm excited to see what Ramos can come up with there. I'm really excited about the pick that's on the board now, though, Eddie, to be honest.
Well, to elaborate on that point, as me and Cam talked about during the break of the All-Star game, with all that talent on the field, it's just going to open up so many doors of what teams can do offensively and defensively. And it's going to be amazing to see how season 18 pans out. It could be our most exciting yet, and that's saying something. But as you're right, Fort Worth is on the clock making their last pick of the night. I know you're happy just hearing that because, it takes some stress off of your plate about what you guys are going to do. I see you multitasking over there, making sure your front office is doing their job. I'm going to avoid talking to you with this one, but Gerald.
Please. I got something, please.
You do.
Please.
Go ahead. The floor is yours.
Cool. Yeah. So, hey, coming up to the draft, I typically like to deep dive into these things, and I compiled the number 1 overall draft history and also a Mr. Irrelevant draft history. And for those that may not be familiar with what Mr. Irrelevant is, it's the name moniker given to the last player selected in the draft. By no means anything negative. It's just the title that was given. But for the sake of moving on, previous Mr. Irrelevance, Craig Hearn, tight end for Sioux Falls, Garen Malone III, a tight end for Tulsa, Chris Leone, a defensive end for San Francisco, Shane Short, a kicker that was drafted by Atlanta, Chris Stock, a cornerback drafted by Portland, Jeff Banfield, a wide receiver drafted by DC, and last season it was Bailey O'Shaughnessy, a running back drafted by Denver.
And a number of those guys are still in the league.
It's hard to believe that Bailey O'Shaughnessy was a Mr. Irrelevant. That's unbelievable. But it just shows you it doesn't matter where you go in the draft. You can, but like you can make an impact.
Absolutely.
The pick is in. Fort Worth wasted no time. Cam, who is moving to Texas?
With the 87th pick of the SFL Season 18 rookie draft, the Fort Worth Toros select J.Z. Bacon, running back. Louisiana's on the clock with the 88th and final selection.
Daniel, some of us in the league are already familiar with this young man. I interviewed him potentially to play for us as a fullback. He was a tailback, new to the league. I think he only had like 4 progressions in. But for those of you who do not know, J.Z. Bacon is actually Josh Zirkle, who works with us in the broadcasting team. Daniel, tell us about this pick.
Well, they have everything they need. So you take the man from broadcast booth, you help him come along, and he'll be the future.
Yeah, the future, Daniel, to key off on that, the future exactly, you know, with how the league is growing and how everything is going down, you know, we have the utmost respect for Jason Williams. This is in no means a slight to Jason Williams. We have the utmost respect for him and his potential in the league. And so this is more of a contingency for us. If the league decides that they want to expand, Jason more than likely is going to go for a team. And so by all means, we would support his decision and his hunt for his own franchise or ownership group. But, you know, that doesn't mean that we can't be prepared to be, you know, to have our bases covered too. And so Josh is a great community member, does fantastic work in a broadcast booth. We love his energy. We love everything that he's about. So for us to be able to get him potentially cover some, you know, have a contingency plan if things work out perfectly for Jason, we have an opportunity to have our running back of the future in a guy like Josh Zirkle or Jay-Z Bacon, who we would be thrilled to have hit the field for us as a starter.
Gerald, so you can see Fort Worth thinking ahead. They have a young man who is interested in ownership one day, and should the league expand, he's of course going to apply for it and has a good shot at landing one of those expansion teams. So you can see Fort Worth turning the wheels and thinking ahead, and they draft this young man, Jay-Z Bacon, who does not have a lot of value, but he does not have to be in a rush to get there because they can bring him along because they have a stud in Jason Williams who they can play right now. He can spell him here, play here and there, and the filmmaking passes that he provides to the league. But they can bring him along slowly as he develops, and someday potentially take the place of a young Jason Williams. So I love that move, and I just want to commend you, Steven, on that, making that pick. And again, Josh Zirkle was a great guy, and it was hard passing up on him, telling him no, we would go in a different direction. So great selection. I'm glad to see the young man drafted. What can you tell us about him, Gerald?
Averaged 3.6 yards to catch, can come out of the backfield. 14 catches. He had 4.7. Had 2 touchdowns on the season, but it's a great future pick for them to be able to have the luxury of grooming Jay-Z Bacon to maybe fill a spot, or even if he does get to another team, just to have that player, not only that player, but have that person in the locker room. You know, being on the broadcast team, I worked with Josh a couple times. Fantastic person, and that just goes with everything that Fort Worth does. It's character, it's personality, and it's a perfect fit. You might say the 2 running backs, like he said, it's no slight to Williams, but it was actually the perfect draft pick.
Fort Worth is building a lot of high character guys in that locker room. I commend him for that pick. And Josh Zirkle's a great guy. I've sent him DMs telling him he's the best in the business, and we are spoiled and not worthy to have him in a broadcast booth. So great pick. And Mr. Relevant pick is in. I think everyone in the building know who they're drafting, but just let's go ahead and make it official. Who is returning, should I say, to Louisiana, Cam?
I don't think we've ever had a Pro Bowler or an all-star retire and then become Mr. Irrelevant.
Yeah.
But that's just the way he rolls. With the 88th pick in the SFL rookie draft, the Louisiana Revolution select Dougie Day, wide receiver. That concludes the SFL Season 18 rookie draft. And all rookies out there who didn't get picked, remember, your story will be unique. No one else will have your story, and everyone's story has something remarkable in it. Keep your head up, and we'll see you on the field in the minor leagues. Keep on progressing, and your day soon will come like the 88 today. Thank you all for watching. Panel will sign us out.
Cam, that was a great speech. But
we know Eddie likes to cry.
Look, you got the eye. Got the eye there from the commish.
Oh my God! But Daniel, I mean, we know about Doug. He's been in the league for some time now. He started his career out in Vancouver as a generic linebacker. Went to Lone Star, transitioned over to Louisiana. Retired his play as a Pro Bowl linebacker because he wanted to pursue his dreams as a wide receiver. He was in the SFL in the minor leagues for all of 5 minutes, and now he's a pro. Tell us what you know about this young man, Dougie Day.
I suspect that he will be catching a lot of balls just like how he catches Twinkies on the side. What more to say? He helped me growing up when I was a rookie down there last season. So, I mean, he's a great character pick. We all knew it was coming. He has friends in the Revolution. They're going to be happy to see him back. And all the best to him. And hope he got some Twinkies on the side for me.
Gerald, I met Dougie Day at the convention. Nice young man. He's so excited. He's all SFL all the time. Recently, moved to, I think, Oklahoma, and just a great guy, man. Tell us about his short career in the minor leagues.
Short career is right. 3 games, but he averaged 6 catches a game, 15 yards a clip, and 2 scores. So it's definitely the firepower that Tommy Utah is going to look forward to throwing to in Louisiana. We didn't get a chance to get down to the convention, but I heard a lot of good things about him. So congratulations, back in the league as a wide receiver, and let's see what you can do.
Stephen, I remember when Louisiana was playing, I believe it's you guys at the convention. Was it not Fort Worth they played?
We played London at the convention.
I don't know who they played then. Apologies. But I remember at one point that quarterback threw a touchdown, and everyone who plays for Louisiana who was at the convention was pounding the table yelling, "Tommy Utah." It was insane. But tell us what you know about this young man, Dougie Day.
Doug, again, a great community member, somebody that's invested in the community, really, really prides himself on being around, being involved, and being a part of the community. And sometimes trolls people and has fun with that. But, that's one of the great things, my opinion about the league is we have so many great personalities, and Doug is one of those people. I had the benefit of meeting Doug at the convention this season and couldn't disagree with anybody here. Doug's a great guy. Glad that he's in the league. Glad that Louisiana was able to find a wide receiver here, somebody that they can build their locker room around. And I know that Louisiana's happy to have him there.
I stand corrected. They played Vancouver. But that's going to conclude this season's SFL Season 18 Rookie Draft. I want to thank everybody for tuning in tonight. And remember, just because you did not get drafted now, you can get drafted next season. Stay by the course, reach out to teams, make yourself known, do something to stand out above the crowd, whether it's with content, graphics, social media, wanting to help and do stats, whatever it takes to get your name out there. Remain positive, stay the course. We had a guy who didn't get drafted number 1 overall in Douglas Brown this season. So anything can happen. If it can happen for them, it can happen for you. And thanks for everybody coming out tonight. For Daniel Wright, for Stephen Hacker, for Gerald Dudasesi, I'm Eddie Gage. For Cam, we don't need to talk about Cam. Enough of all that. Thanks for everybody coming out. Arizona, yo. I'm so excited, man. Play what I do in about another 6 days. It's time to take these suits off. It's time to take these hats off. Put on some pads and get out in the field and hit some people. And I cannot wait. Thanks for tuning in, everybody. Thanks for coming. Good night and drive home safely.